What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of Procedurally Generated. My name is Chris Weber. I'm here with John Carson.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Hey,
Good.
John.
Yeah.
Happy Cyberpunk Week.
Yeah.
I
Happy
almost said
Cyberpunk Week to you too.
Punk, but we
Yeah.
got it out.
We're coming up on Cyber Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
The two hot releases this week on the 10th. Cyberpunk and episode 6 of Procedurally Generated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
True.
So
Vying for the title, really.
everyone has now just hundreds of hours of entertainment from both sources.
Yes.
Judging by
Hundreds.
how long these episodes get.
Sounds
sometimes.
right. Yes. Feels like hundreds, in a good way.
We are the Cyberpunk of video game podcasts.
That's what, people say that all the time. I don't know what it means. I just roll with it because I'll take all the compliments I can get.
I smile and nod.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. That's
Great.
Exactly
Yeah, that sounds
that's how we
very cool.
But thank you guys for being here. We're so happy to have you listening in to what is our 6th episode.
Absolutely.
So we'll get right into it. One thing that we want to talk about. This is the first week where you guys are going to get a little bonus Discord action. Okay, so our list of games is not just games, and perhaps that caveat should have been laid down months ago, but we're here now, and we're just going to face it. There's a lot of other things that are included in that list because that's how Moby Games works, and that's where I built the list from. So we have DLC that's included in that list. Now, there are varying levels of DLC, things that you can talk extensively about, and then there's things that you really can't say anything more than what it is, right?
Right. It ranges from horse armor to entire expansion packs for games.
Right, exactly. So it runs the gamut. So we've been brainstorming how best to address the DLC that comes up in the list. And we've settled on bonus Discord content. So we have had 6 channels, 6 channels under one category in the Discord. So for episode 1, there were 6 channels. There was a community channel where everybody could chat and talk amongst themselves about the episode. And then there were 5 channels dedicated to any extra stuff that we found specific to each game. This week will be a little different. This week we'll actually have 8 channels. It'll have the same community interaction channel, open to whoever wants to talk about the games. But then it'll have 5 channels dedicated to the channels or to the games we're talking about today. And then there'll be 3 bonus channels about the very random DLCs that popped up this week. So I just wanted to let you guys know, let you be aware that if you pop into the Discord when it is for episode 6, when it's live, you're going to notice a few extra goodies that we're not going to talk about on the show. How's that?
Yeah,
is that a good tease?
I think so. This was really weird when we were generating games for each episode, and we came up to this week and it fired out a couple DLCs, and we're like, well, that takes up like 2 spots. That could be good, that could be bad, depending on what the DLC is. But we decided to take the time to discuss actual games in the show instead of taking up a spot with DLC. So yeah, I think for now that's a really good course for us. And Chris is fishing up good content on that. Good pictures, good information, deep information on this DLC.
So. Oh yeah. We could almost create a second bonus episode off of the content from the DLC. That's not true. There's really not a lot there. Don't get too excited, but it's fun. It's cool to see some things that are implemented post-launch. Obviously, this is going to be more. It's going to be more in line with some of the newer games that come up on lists or that are part of the list.
Right.
But hey, it's a cool way to look at some of the stuff that comes out after a game releases. So
absolutely.
But yeah, that's really all we have in terms of kind of updates for this week.
Other than I believe we are $10 away still
Yes.
from getting our content on YouTube. So
Right.
if you like the show, if you like listening to our voices, if you want to help make the show better, please consider throwing a few dollars our way at patreon.com/procedurally generated. I believe our lowest tier is $3 a month.
Yep.
Um, and that will get you in there. That'll get you voting privileges for our bonus games that the community helps choose. And then the next tier up, $7, will get you early access to episodes each week. So,
Yes. And if you listened closely, you notice that John said we are $10 away. Now, this time last week, we were $24 away, which means we've got some new patrons to thank at the end of the show. That's exciting.
yep.
But we're not there yet.
No,
I'm going to say
not
thank
quite.
you now, but I'm not going to give you name recognition till later. What have you been playing this week, John?
Oh man. So I rambled on a long time last week about World of Warcraft. I I played World of Warcraft all week, and
You thought
I've really
that was rambly. Just wait.
yeah. No, I've just got I've been doing my dailies. I've been getting geared for higher level dungeons. That's about it. Other than that, I've been playing another MMO, which we've talked about previously, which is Final Fantasy 14 with the Cryophilic group. We finally got a free company up and running. So if people want to join the Cryophilic Discord and go in there and find the Final Fantasy 14 channel, we can tell you which server and shard that we're in if you want to join us. So a lot of fun
And-
in there. Being the only tank that is awake at certain times of the day. So
so what you're saying is we need more tanks.
uh yeah, yes and no. Yes and no.
I didn't
I like
even know the free company was live and good, so I should actually probably join that.
it is, and I think you might have signed the charter to get it up and running, so you might be in it already.
I did. Oh,
Maybe I don't know. I know
oh.
I did. So
Well, I feel like an investigation should take place here. I don't recall any
yeah,
of this.
yeah.
Um, but
But yeah,
WoW and Final Fantasy 14, eh?
that's really it, and some magic to keep up with my dailies there. But kind of oh no, I did play something else.
Oh, oh,
I
oh,
played I played Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
oh yeah. I could have told you that.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Like the one time that I streamed in the past month. Yeah, I played some Immortals. That is a new game from Ubisoft. From the Montreal. I think it's Ubisoft Montreal. It's the folks who did Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And it is very much like like Zelda Breath of the Wild. Straight down to it's an open world game. It's kind of cartoony looking. You have different powers to like pick things up or glide. Like a lot of the mechanics are exactly taken from Breath of the Wild, which is kind of crazy. Which is it's weird that there's now two games on the market in the last like 3 months that are uh, taking those mechanics wholesale, whole cloth, and bringing them onto their own IP.
Yeah. And
Um,
that being said, I loved Breath of the Wild, and I fell off of Genshin Impact too soon. I need to get back into that. But Immortals looks like something that I'm gonna wanna jump into soon. So
yeah, it's so I don't think it gives a great first impression. I don't really enjoy the writing in it. It's very it tries to play it very tongue in cheek, very jokey. Um, you have like I think it's I know it's Zeus. I think the other character might be Perseus. It's Zeus and some other character that are like narrating your tale and like bickering with each other. Um, and that gets like pretty quippy and jokey. And a lot of the jokes are kind of modern day stuff, even though this takes place in like ancient Greece. Um, yeah, a lot of the writing is just doesn't fit well for me, but
okay.
gameplay's fun. everything is like you have a light attack, heavy attack. You have gear for those two slots as well. So usually a sword and a giant hammer, and then you have a bow and arrow. Um, you don't have the uh, degradable weapons like you do in Breath of the Wild. So people who didn't like that mechanic, that's gone. It's not there. So rejoice.
That's a weird
Um, I
mechanic that I got used to. I can't
I
imagine Breath of the
like it.
Wild without it now.
Right. It in Breath of the Wild, it makes you get uncomfortable. It makes you try to figure out where your next step is going to be instead of just like charging in and doing your thing over and over. Um, yeah. Otherwise, they have a ton of puzzles that have been fun. Traversing the world's been pretty fun. It looks really nice. I think some of your characters can look pretty ugly, but I think my dude looks good. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm not too far in. I'm only a couple hours.
Your
Just
dude does
outside
look
of
good.
he looks really good.
He's got some mysterious smoky eyes,
He's got he put on his mascara,
the full
his
goatee,
eyeliner,
almost
full
like
goatee.
Fu Manchu style.
Yeah, he's got some nice hair.
Yeah,
Looks
yeah.
good. Looks
You
good.
did good.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, I'm just a few hours in. It's fine so far.
Okay.
Um, runs really well on the old PlayStation 5th.
Hmm. Oh, I should
Hmm.
probably update people on that. I still don't have one. There's your update.
We've tried again, but
Yep.
I saw Series X's were up for sale today for a bit.
We do need one of those eventually.
Another one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually.
One for you, one
One
for
for me,
Kate.
one for Kate. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll be stealing hers for Cyberpunk. Well, ours for
No,
Cyberpunk.
no, I'm glad that you just told the truth about
Yeah.
that. It's hers. Uh,
She has been spending a lot more time on it, and it's great. She's
I
enjoying it. She just finished up Untitled Goose Game. She's now playing some uh Ori. I don't know which one.
oh, good.
But she's been playing
Okay.
State of Decay.
Ori's great.
Yeah, she's playing Warzone on there, so she's getting her money's worth out of it. But I'm going
Good.
to be stealing it from her tomorrow to get the stream or to stream a little bit from it to get ready for Cyberpunk on Thursday, which I'll be playing on the Series X. So,
Dope.
but yeah, so you've been playing a little Immortals Phoenix Rising. I've been
Mhm.
playing a game that also includes some of the gods that you called out,
Uh,
Hades.
that
Yeah.
little game.
Yeah, I'm still playing that. I got to this elusive ninth win, which somebody had told me was the one that kind of like completes the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't complete the story, which is fine. I'm not eager to stop playing that game. It was just kind of one of those things where I was like, oh yes,
I
we're gonna get some threads tied up. We're gonna understand what's happening, and
Someone
we
pulled the
didn't.
football away
Yeah.
as soon as
So
he kicked.
right. I think I had been playing 2 rounds of Hades before starting another game every night. I
Yeah,
think I'm gonna switch that, pull it back to 1,
I think that's
keep
good.
pushing forward. I think we're close. It definitely feels like we're close.
Have you just looked it up?
No,
Have
I
you just
haven't.
looked?
I
Okay.
have not.
All right.
I had somebody in the chat did and just said, "Yeah, keep going." I was like, "Okay, good enough."
Okay.
I didn't
Great.
blow it.
Is is the
So
finish
yeah,
line near? Maybe one day.
right. So we're still messing around with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Still just tremendous game.
I still need to play more. It's been months since I've touched it. I don't think I've played it since it went 1.0. So
Okay. And I never played it prior to that, so I can't tell you what you're missing. But
yeah, I have no idea.
and then I also finished up the career mode in Dirt 5.
Okay.
Overall,
How is
I think that game has it's a fun racing game,
that? Hmm.
but leaves a lot to be desired.
Okay.
Um, the career mode was super shallow. In fact, when I finished the career mode, I went into the playgrounds mode, which is like community created stuff, and it was
Yeah.
the most fun I'd had in the game. The Nolan North Troy Baker podcast that pushes the story forward thing got real old real quick. I just didn't. it just everything felt very, very short. Very.
Yeah.
In fact, I just beelined the end of the game, and
As you should in a racing game. You got to go
you do
fast.
have to go fast.
You
Yes,
got to get there first.
that's true. Once I felt like I'd done as much racing as I think I wanted to in the game, then I could very easily. I did like 6 races and I was over, and that was the end of the game. Ultimately, it was again. I think the racing was fun, but a very shallow game overall.
Right.
So, um, if you're into racing games and you're looking for like an arcadey off road type of a game, I would recommend it. But just know there's not a lot there outside of the racing, which in a racing game that sounds like a dumb criticism to have. But
Yeah.
I just felt like I felt like I got to a point where I kind of needed more to keep me going. So
Yeah. So probably look for a sale
I
for
would
this
say
one.
look for a sale. Well, here's the other interesting thing. That
Hmm.
game's not that old. 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe. I tried to play online after I beat it. I couldn't find a game. I couldn't find a race, and I couldn't find
uh,
a
does
party
it?
mode
But
game.
does it pair you? Is it cross play?
I don't know.
Okay, I'd be
Um,
interested to know if that's like. I'm sure, like for the Xbox consoles, it would be all the same. But I also know that they do like 120 hertz mode, and I don't
okay.
know if that's for multiplayer or not, and if that has any restrictions with playing with other people. So
Okay.
who knows?
Yeah, I'm not
Uh,
sure. I was playing the game on PC. I should clarify,
yeah.
which
Oh, okay. Okay.
may
Gotcha.
not be the place because I know a lot of people wanted to get Dirt to show off the new consoles.
Right.
So maybe the PC player base is just not that prevalent. But I would still think 2 or 3 weeks after a game release, especially a bigger. I mean, that's a bigger
It's.
franchise.
I mean, it's what, like the only big new racing game
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
I know. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit
yeah. I guess yeah.
remastered came
Hot
out,
Pursuit came out. Project Cars 3 came out this year.
which I actually saw on clearance at Target the other day.
Did
So
you? Okay,
yeah,
I've heard
yeah, for Xbox. So
some things about that. Apparently, that game went a completely different direction from simulation to full blown arcade,
sure,
which kind of
I
feels
guess
like what Dirt did.
gotta try it.
So
Did you see the new Forza Horizon 4 DLC
I
or
saw
like the
that
new mode?
today, and I haven't had a chance to check it out.
Yeah,
Custom content again. So
yeah, yeah. It looked neat. I meant to message you about it yesterday, but
yeah, no Forza. If for those of you guys that don't know, Forza Horizon is king of the hill for me as it relates to racing games. It is to me, I think it is a special game. Um, so unfortunately for Dirt, I was comparing it to Forza.
it's a fair comparison, man.
Yeah, well, and they made it pretty easy with all of the neon and the very blatant Forza-y look they were going for. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, you made me do this. But other than that, Hades and Dirt 5, just some Final Fantasy 14 with a cryophilic crew,
Yep.
and then just some occasional Rocket League here and there. Pretty standard fare. I'm just chomping at the bit, ready for Thursday, ready for Cyberpunk. I've got a brand new 4K monitor coming. Um, I'm a pretty happy boy. I will be. Right now, I'm an impatient boy.
I don't know. You sound pretty happy.
Yeah,
You sound all right.
but
Yeah.
that's what we've been playing.
Mhm.
Um, we have our first community email
About
that was sent
time.
in to our community email address at pgshowinbox@gmail.com. If you'd like your email read, you can send an email to that address as well, and we'd be happy to share it on air. This is from actually a community member that's been around for a while now. Back to Snack. I'll paraphrase the email a little bit here, but been loving the show. Had a few questions. Would you consider possibly doing an episode on your favorite games of all time? If your favorites aren't the same / similar, maybe you could even do an episode where you give each other 5 of your favorite games and see what the other thinks of your picks. So let's stop there. Well, there's more to it, but we'll start with that.
Yeah.
Yes, probably we can do something like that.
Mm.
Um, We talked a little bit before the show. We got to figure out the logistics. It doesn't that type of discussion doesn't lend itself very well to the standard format of the show, but we talked about perhaps doing maybe a bonus episode around Christmas time. And that's all I'm going to share right now.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We just need to figure out the format and how we want to do that. So
Yes.
yep.
And then he has a second part. With the Game Awards coming up on the 10th, would you consider possibly going over the categories and choosing your winner up to the game of the year itself? I'd love to hear what you think. Anyways, if none of these work, that's okay. Just want to let you know what I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, Snack. Thank you again for writing in, back to Snack. It means the world. The Game
You'll forever
Awards.
go down in the annals of our history.
That's true. We should probably print the email, frame it,
and then send it to them.
yes. Well, I was gonna say yes. We should save it for when we have a studio, but
Yeah,
we could also
absolutely.
give it to him.
And also tattoo it on our backs.
Yes, there we go. Now you're thinking.
Mhm.
That would be my first tattoo. Is that weird? No, that's not.
No,
That's actually
I
extra
don't
special.
I don't have any either. So
Oh man. But yes, the Game Awards. Unfortunately, it's pretty close. It's only 2 days away, so
yeah.
we probably wouldn't have time to incorporate it into this show, and we probably wouldn't have time to do a bonus episode. But I have been keeping tabs on the games that I personally have played all year. I have completed 17 or 18 off the top of my head, so I have enough for a top 10. So I'm going to be discussing that on my Twitch channel in the coming weeks. I don't know when specifically yet, but if you're curious as to what my top 10 is, I will be sharing that on my Twitch channel soon.
Yeah.
John, do you have a do you have a list going or anything like that for 2020 games?
So I don't know. Like every year, I always set out to like, oh, I'm gonna play like all the big games, and I'm gonna actually have like a top 10 list. And I'll go through the year and I'll play a bunch of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that I haven't finished. So I have a pretty good understanding of everything that I liked or disliked this year. So I could probably throw a list together.
Okay.
But like the actual things that I've completed are pretty few and far between. It's like Tsushima and Trails in the Sky. I'm sure there's a few others, but obviously Trails in the Sky did not come out this year. That came out 15 years ago. But like I've played half of Final Fantasy VII. I've played some of Hades. I've played apparently not enough. I've played like all the PS5 stuff. Played some Yakuza. So like I have a good understanding of stuff that came out this year. So we'll see. We'll see what I do. I
Okay.
haven't decided yet.
Well, there you go, Snack.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
We're not ruling out talking about this on the podcast at some point. Maybe closer to the new year. We might have a better idea of like maybe we'll throw out a top 5 or something on the show. But
yeah.
nothing that we have set in stone. So it's a great idea, but we have no concrete plans currently.
Yes. And like I said, if you guys would like to email us as well, ideas, thoughts, suggestions, all that good stuff, pgshowinbox@gmail.com. We will read everything that comes in.
Actually, I do have an email request from people. We've talked about having guests on for
yes, we have
5 episodes now. But and even like whenever we're playing Final Fantasy, there's someone like who pops up in your stream who will ask like when we're doing guests, or someone from Cryophilic will ask when we're doing guests, and we don't know. Which I think is starting to become a problem for us. We're getting more comfortable with the show, which was what we wanted to do, obviously. Before we considered like how to incorporate guests. How would you guys want to incorporate guests? Send us your ideas to pgshowinbox@gmail.com, and let us know how you would want us to incorporate a guest to our show.
Yeah. It's we've got some ideas and some thoughts. and we could even share those at some point too
Yeah,
here soon, and kind of build the discussion around that. But we don't want to just lay the work of researching
it's a lot.
an episode. It can be
Yeah,
a lot. In fact, I wrapped up just before we started recording, which I promised myself I wasn't going to do. But that's more of a time management thing on my behalf. But if for somebody
yeah,
who's coming into it fresh and not knowing the best way to research some of this stuff, it's like it's maybe not a fair ask. So maybe an almost like impartial third guest, somebody who hasn't done any research and wants to like guide a conversation. I've had that idea. Um, or
or
maybe
if
it's
we
an
just have
expert.
someone on for one game or
Yeah,
something, but or just have someone on at the beginning and, like, interview them quick.
yeah, yeah.
Even something like that, but
We have been, yeah. I promise you, we're not neglecting the idea of having guests. It's something that, in fact, when before our first episode, when I talked to John, it was
yeah,
one of the things that I kind of wanted to build into the show that I thought would be important.
absolutely. I think for the longevity and just, like, freshening things up, extra voices help a
Yeah,
lot. So,
agreed. So yes, we'll keep working on that and try to have some plans in place by the first of the year, even maybe
yeah,
not before then, but things that we can actively start moving towards. So
right.
we mentioned the email like 3 times, so I'm not going to say it again. pgshowinbox@gmail.com. Um,
pgshow@gmail.com.
yep. But we also have a Twitter, PG_show. Go ahead and give us a follow there. We have our patreon.com/procedurally generated. That is where the community vote takes place, along with some other updates. And then we also have our Discord, the procedurally generated Discord. So if you guys want to be a part of the Discord, like I said, we're going to have bonus content in there this week. We're going to have content related to the games that we're going to talk about today. It'll all be in there. If you missed a show, if you're just getting started, we have an archive section at the bottom that'll let you get caught up. Please take a look. Please join us. Please have fun. Please comment. Please be a part of the community.
Great. Speaking of the Patreon, I think we forgot to do this last week,
Uh-ohs.
but we do have a weekly vote on the community choice for games. So
We do.
do, have we finalized a vote for this week for is it for episode 7?
We have kind of. So I realized something this week,
Yes.
that I did not know. Uh, wow! I just had a message come through from you from October 27th.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, I just went in there too. I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
I don't remember doing that. Anyways,
Yeah, we have. So I had not disabled the ability to vote more than once.
oh right,
So we
yeah, no,
had
that's fine.
somebody vote twice on
That's fine.
one of the responses. I'm going to update that going forward so everybody gets one vote, but I'm going to retroactively cancel the second vote. No, I can't do
Oh,
that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
oh shit. Wait, hold on. I
I
am
can do
I
that
am
no,
a
no
I am a
stop.
contributor. Yeah, let me log into my account here.
Oh, we might be having because we have a tie. That's the problem. We have a tie between 2 of the 5 games, and I'll read out the games right now. So the games
Yeah.
that are up for vote on episode 7 are Capture the Flag for the DOS, not the DOS. Woodle Tree Adventures for the Nintendo Switch, Mingle Magnet for the Wonder Swan, and Swarm for the PlayStation 3. Oh my god, that's 4. And Blaze Blue Continuum Shift for the PlayStation
Uh-huh.
3. There's 5 games.
Yes.
The tie right now is between Woodle Tree Adventures and Swarm. So John, as a patron. Oh wait,
Yeah.
actually,
You have it locked to $7.
that's right. You're a bronze patron. You can't vote.
Uh, no, we shifted it down, didn't we?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
How come last week's is available to me?
Last week's is available.
The episode 6 community vote is available to me.
Is it? Hold the phone. Hold the phone.
Mhm.
Doing it live. Maybe you're right. Okay. Well, let's change it.
Anyways,
I got
yeah,
power.
how many votes for I guess I don't need to ask that. My vote is for Blaze Blue Continuum Shift.
Yeah. John, that doesn't help the tie.
I'm sorry. What were the two that?
The two that are tied are Woodle Tree Adventures and Swarm. All you've done is created a tie for second place.
Whittle Tree Adventures.
Okay.
That's what I want. That's what
All
I
right.
want.
Perfect. We'll do. We'll proceed with Woodle Tree Adventures then. Oh goodness. Although I can say I'm surprised to hear you.
All right, yeah. I guess toss Blaze Blue back into the ether.
That's right. You've
And
got like 35 more of those games that might
get rid of the Arxis game. Sure.
All right, so you heard it here first, folks. Woodle Tree Adventures will be the 5th game for next week. The first 4 are still a mystery.
They're a secret. Well, we'll never tell until next week.
Until we tell you.
Yeah.
The mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okie dokie. I think that's all of that stuff that we have to go through. Should we get into the games?
Please.
All right. I don't remember who introduced the first game last week, so I'll just go ahead. Our first game is it's a Tetris-like.
Right? Yeah, actually, yes.
I think 100%. There literally 100%. Isn't a better title for it. It is developed by Bastian Schick, who is a human, not a company, and published by Telegames. It was released in 1995 for the it's not the Nintendo Lynx.
Oof.
Jesus, wow. The Atari Lynx.
Yes.
It is called Tetris. That T-Tris.
Yeah.
I've never played this, but I have played Tetris. John, have you ever played Tetris?
I've not played Tetris. I've watched videos on Tetris though.
I have. Yeah, I did do that a little bit this week.
So Tetris is like you said, it's Tetris. Moving on to the next game.
Yes.
No. So I'm not very well versed with the Atari Lynx.
I'm not either.
So the Atari Lynx, I think this is the first time that we've covered it on the show, is a portable Atari platform. It's huge. It's massive. It's a big ass thing, like bigger than a Game Gear, but with like a screen like the same size as a Game Gear.
Interesting.
Or around that. Yeah, I saw one when I was out retro game shopping a few weeks ago.
So
considered buying one.
I'm trying to think Game Gear, and then I'm trying to think Nintendo Switch with Joy-Cons.
Yes, I mean it's definitely thicker.
Okay, yeah. Well,
and I'm trying to think if it's wider or not, but it's big. It's it's a beast.
It's a hunk.
It is a chunky portable console. So yeah, it's a portable, full color, backlit console. I believe it's backlit. Every video that I've seen is backlit. And Bastian Schick is a German homebrewer of sorts. And that's where he started making games. I think he only made a few, but he started out with Tetris. He was with his partner. I'm trying to think of what his partner's name was. Do you have that off the top of your head there?
I guess I don't remember seeing anything referencing a partner, so I do not.
Gotcha. Let me see here. I think it's Lars Baumstark.
That is a cool name.
Anyways, it was Bastian and his associate who started doing homebrewing on the Lynx. What they found was there was an exploit in Gauntlet for it that would allow them to start writing their own code and building games on this thing. So like they didn't have a debug unit while they were putting Tetris together. And the whole catalyst of Tetris is actually Bastian's cousin said that she would buy an Atari Lynx if there was a Tetris on there. So since Bastion was playing around with the hardware and the code, he decided to make a Tetris clone and sell it, which is kind of wild. Um,
Yeah, so this is the first actual game that Bastion worked on,
right.
and he admitted that he's not a gamer,
Mm-mm.
which I always find that fascinating.
No,
He's not the only person that's ever said that. I've heard
he's
that other people kind of iterate on that same thing, and it's like, how do you
he's
even then?
he's like a programmer and an engineer, right?
Yeah, he where does he work? I saw his LinkedIn now, and he's very much
Yeah,
not
I
involved in
saw it too.
games.
No, he's not. He was involved for like a couple of years, but it was really just doing his own homebrews and like selling them.
Yeah.
Like he went on to make a thing called Simus,
Yep.
which is I got the list here. A game called it's a compilation of games. So it's a game called Snakebite, which is snake. If you're familiar with it, there's a game called Invaders, which is the Eye, which is Space Invaders. There's Mines, which is I don't think that one's quite Minesweeper, but it's something similar.
Had some
There's
similarity. Yeah.
there's Isolation, which I think is also a more of a Minesweeper clone. And then there's a thing called Specials, which is a bunch of little demos that were done by him and Matthias Doman.
For the record, Specials runs at a blistering 6 frames per second.
Woo!
Yeah.
Well, it is also a 3D engine. So
Yeah. Well, I just, there's all the talk about 30 versus 60 FPS, and then I'm like,
yeah.
this bad boy ran at 6.
One
Optimized.
yeah. Yeah, it's I didn't really expect to find like this weird little nugget of like, oh, this guy was the first home brewer for Lynx and Jaguar consoles.
Yeah, there's an active community built around that now, and he was kind of the pioneer, kind of the forerunner for
Yeah.
that entire movement.
Yeah.
Which is
And
that's cool.
Like looking up copies of Tetris, like if you're looking for ones that are for sale, I've seen ones that have like the actual box and have like the that were put out by the publisher. Who's the publisher again? Who
Well, I
did you
had
say?
a
I didn't see
Songbird.
that. What was that?
Are you referring to Songbird?
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, so they bring old forgotten games back to life is kind of their shtick.
So they're like a limited run
Yeah, yeah,
of sorts. So they recreate cartridges and put out like new hardware for it.
yes.
Okay, so this was originally just like put on like little like silicon chips, like without the actual cart.
Mhm.
It's very DIY looking. It was like packaged in an orange like an orange like safety case. And like sent out to people. It's wild. It's kind of like it was the Wild West of making and selling your own portable games around that time. This was 95. Like people have been doing like shareware discs and stuff for PCs, but you didn't really see it much for consoles at all. At least not that I have seen or remember.
Right. Yeah.
So it's weird seeing them just like produce their own little cartridges and send them out, and like they're not actual official uh, pieces of hardware.
Yeah, the homebrew board that I found I'm assuming you saw it on eBay as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so like about $120 for that.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's probably fair because it's like,
Oh, absolutely. It's a collector's item.
yeah. But on the Songbird website, which comes with cool like cover art on the cart and a cool box, has teachers available between $49.95 and $79.95. I'm not sure what dictates what price you get,
Huh.
but it was a range. And Songbird, I guess, also specifically specializes in Lynx and Jaguar games.
Oh, okay,
So they
cool.
have a very
That makes sense. It's probably
niche,
expensive to figure out.
yeah, very, very niche grip on that market. But
Well, now I know where to go if I do end up picking up a Lynx.
there you go. Yep.
Go to Songbird to buy games.
But I mean, the cover art and stuff. I mean, they add a really cool flair to it, and it's
Yeah,
it looks pretty well done. So, um, so
yeah. Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna. Do you have more in terms of like development and stuff?
No, not really. It's a lot of it's pretty technical things. Like I think the interesting stuff was like how they figured out how to get their code running, which was through an encryption mistake in Gauntlet.
That was yeah. That's
And then just like starting to build like their other games and putting together a collection. But yeah, that's about it for the development, I think.
yeah. So in terms of the actual game itself, not that good.
It's
Uh,
Tetris.
it's Tetris, but it's missing.
It doesn't have
It's a pretty
sound.
poor version of Tetris. Um,
Right.
for some reason, Tetris does have a score of 40. I saw from IGN, which it's weird that IGN would would rate Tetris.
Is that a community score?
I
IGN.
don't know. It was on Moby Games. I tried to go back and look for it. I couldn't find it. So I guess
I feel like that's technically before IGN's time
that's also true. So I
because
wonder
they
if
started out as like an N64 fan site, right?
yeah. So you know what? In hindsight, let's cancel that. Let's not say that there was a 40 from IGN.
Sure.
Something about that might be a little bit
Great.
screwy.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a tough thing to I think quantify or to
Yeah.
verify for sure.
Mhm.
But he wrote and sold this game without any sort of corporate sponsorship, obviously. Um,
Right.
but
Just
this
to
was
kind of see if they could do it.
yeah, this was very I don't want to say very early on. Obviously, games have been around for a while, but the idea of an indie published, indie developed game now, a single developer, it's still pretty rare, but it happens more frequently. Um,
Right.
I mean, I saw reference to this potentially being one of the first times a game had ever been released, barring that kind or carrying that kind of
Oh yeah,
indie status.
for like a home console at that time, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But like you'd see more on PC, obviously.
right.
It's a little bit easier to share that kind of stuff, but having more proprietary cartridges was tough. It was tough
Mhm.
to get that and get your game on it as an independent developer, especially in 94 95.
Yeah,
You just have to be really smart and be able to put that stuff together yourself.
yeah. So that's about all I've got
Yeah.
on Tetris. Do you have any other interesting
No,
nuggets to throw out?
that's really it. I think it's a cool story. I was going in just thinking that it was just going to be a just a Tetris clone, or they had to like change the name because Nintendo had the rights to the Tetris name or something like that. Um, but no, it was a homebrew uh innovation story,
Yeah,
which is great.
it was
It's very
came
cool.
around because his cousin wanted to play Tetris on a Lynx.
Yeah, yeah. Why not?
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I'll make that. Sure, sounds easy.
Well, let's move into our second game. John, do you
Yeah,
want to go ahead and introduce this one?
yeah. The next game is a licensed title for the Nintendo Entertainment System, also for the MSX. It is Predator, based on the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Predator. It is a it was released in 1988 on the NES. It was developed by Pack-In Video, which is a Japanese company that specialized in licensed games, which I feel like we're hitting that a lot
We are.
in the last
There's a
couple of weeks.
lot of licensed games, turns out.
I was also seeing that a studio called Klon worked on the MSX version, but also I'm seeing that Pack and Video worked on the MSX version. So
Yeah, I had some questions about that as well.
I'm just gonna go with Pack and Video
Yeah,
for the
I think that
developer.
that
'Cause
works.
they are credited on both, like actually in the on the title screen they are credited. So yeah, Predator is a side-scrolling action game. So think of something like a Contra, but not as hardcore for like its health system. You are playing as Dutch Schaefer, which is Arnold's character from the movie, and you are going through levels and eventually fighting predators, which is weird because the movie only has one predator, but you are fighting multiple in this game. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of a good way to compare this without saying Contra a lot, because that's just what it feels like, or like Ninja Gaiden. It's like a mix between both of those. Like it's pretty platformy.
Yeah, it is. I actually was able to play it. Um,
Oh, really? Oh, good,
yeah,
excellent.
and it's yes, very platformy, alarmingly platformy,
Yeah,
and hard because it's an NES game. Of course, it's hard, but
right.
um, like it's once I got the jumping mechanic down a little bit, it got a little bit better, but there's like a weird floatiness to every jump, and it does like the Super Mario 1 when
Yeah,
you progress through the game, you finally get to the point where like you've got to make this jump, but the only place that you can land is as wide as Mario. I don't know if you remember
yes.
that spot.
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember that spot distinctly because it ruined my life. Um, but that's all like some of these areas are made up of. Just
yeah,
these tiny little spots for you to land, set yourself up for your next jump, land, set yourself up for your next jump. If you get hit, you keep your momentum mid jump. You can't. It didn't seem like you could stop yourself if you got hit. So if you got hit, you're wherever you end up is where you're gonna go, which doesn't work well in those very tight platformy areas. Um, I could not get to the part where I saw Predator, which killed me a little bit. Um, I think I'm just that bad at these kind of games now, but I bless me, I tried. Um,
we've evolved past them.
yes, and the only
Quite
weapon I
quite.
ever found was a grenade. They have other weapons, but I could only find a grenade,
Yeah,
which did nothing
that's
for me.
that's a weird thing. So you start each level with nothing, so you just have a punch, and your item is just called punch. But you find different guns or grenades. If you find a grenade, you just have infinite grenades, which is awesome. Um, but like so I was watching a gameplay video of this, and I'm pretty sure the dude was like a speed runner because he was nailing every jump.
Oh,
Yeah, like just cruising through it. I thought the game was just super easy, but I guess not.
yeah, I can confirm that it is not that.
Um, yeah, I think it's just odd that they take away your items each level and start you off with nothing. Like other games of its ilk will usually keep you at least pretty close to what you had, if not like just a slight step down. I wonder if there's something with like the saving. Oh, shoot, I forgot something
Oh,
for the previous game. Tetris was the first Lynx cart with a save feature.
ah,
Going back. All right, so
did,
going.
did you hide that somewhere in the Predator notes or?
No, that was just my brain. It just
Oh,
hit that in my brain somewhere.
well,
Not
welcome
even
back to
looking at my
Predator.
Predator notes right now. I know. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think I did that a
Uh,
couple weeks ago with one of the games we were on.
it's my podcast. I can do what I want.
That's right.
Uh, uh, yeah. Predator also has two different modes for the game. They have like the regular side scrolling mode, and then they have something called Big Mode. Um, and Big Mode is you are a giant Dutch um, and you're on like an auto scroller of some sort, and just shooting at things that come your way. And I think you fight the predator in there too, which is
Oh.
weird.
I
But
knew there was a big mode, and that's what I
yeah,
was trying so desperately to get to. By the way, the non-big mode is just called jungle mode.
okay,
Um, but I wanted to see this big mode, but I was like, eventually I was like, I can't do this. I got a life to lead. I can't be stuck on Predator any longer.
yeah.
Now I
Like
wish I would have done it.
normally Dutch is very small. He's a small pink man
Yes.
in this game. If you look at the MSX version, actually, like all the colors are very natural looking.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Dutch in jungle mode, small pink man. In big mode, larger pink man. A lot more detailed. Something that you'd probably see in gosh, I can't think of anything on the NES that would compare to it for like a sprite that large. But obviously, you're not putting a lot more on the screen on the NES at that point if you're pumping out a large sprite like that.
I'm gonna see if I can find a quick screenshot of big mode.
Yeah.
Uh,
While you're looking for that, I'll just talk about some of the differences between the MSX and the NES version. The MSX version doesn't have traditional side scrolling. Everything is like screen to screen. So if you go to the edge of a screen, everything kind of has to like move over.
oh,
In the NES version, it's just a full like Super Mario side scroller. You can go left, you can go right. But on the MSX, I don't know if the technology just wasn't there for the MSX specifically. I couldn't find anything about it, or if since the MSX version came out the year before, if they were just kind of crunched on time and then they were able to do it on the NES on a console that proved that you could do it with previous games like Mario with other platformers.
yeah.
Um,
Because yeah, there's the NES version, there's the MSX version, but there is a version that came out for uh like PC,
the Commodore 64,
Commodore, Amiga, and all that stuff.
ZX Spectrum.
Shares the exact same cover art, but the game looked quite a bit different. It looked like a 2.5D type of setup where you can move
Huh,
up and down along with left and right. And to be fair, I mean, it just looked way better. So
let me see.
I'm not sharing too much about those. I'm not actually sharing anything
Oh
about
yeah,
those versions.
that is way different.
Yeah. Uh,
Also, I guess I should say the gameplay in the MSX version is different too. Like it's still kind of platformy, but you have like a different HUD. And I think you just like I think you might start with a gun.
well, yeah,
It's
in the
it's
MSX
very
version, you well, okay, in the NES version, you can only hold one weapon,
yep,
but it has infinite ammo. In the
right.
MSX version, you can hold all three weapons, but you have limited ammo for each weapon.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, and then the
that makes
NES
sense.
losing your weapon at the end of each level, that's only on the NES version. In the MSX, you carry your weapons with you.
Right.
Um,
I feel like I would rather play the NES version though.
I th-
Like after looking between the two.
yeah, I think so. I think so too. The idea that you could run out of ammo for your weapons
Yeah.
would be a bummer. Although, granted, you start every. I mean, you do start the game with just your fists, so
Right. Yeah.
you do have a way of attacking. But um,
Did you look
the
at big mode? Did you
I
see it?
no, I didn't see any screenshots of it, which I'm sad
No.
about.
Oh man.
So, there are.
It's in that video that you posted in the old Discord, by the way.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Maybe I
It's kind of
walked
near
right
the
over
end.
that part.
Uh,
Okay.
it is 8 minutes in.
Okay. Let me. Well,
Yeah. So Chris is gonna look at that. I'm actually
yes.
looking at it right now. So, uh, I almost called him Colonel John Matrix, which would be I think Dan Rickard would kill me for mixing up those two characters.
I don't know who
Uh,
that is.
oh, that's
You-
Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from Commando. which is an incredible action movie that you should definitely see. Um, yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger. He's not pink; he's actually green and orange. Kind of looks like the Incredible Hulk. Uh, but you do kind of go from left to right in an auto scroller, shooting at a predator that sometimes flashes in on the screen, as predators do when they're invisible. Seems neat. Seems very cool.
Oh, okay. I see big mode.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That's
quite
kind
a
of
bit
cool.
bigger, but also it like doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Uh,
Just shooting some bubbles.
just yeah, shooting the stuff, shoot
Um,
some bubbles, shoot the predator.
yeah,
Uh,
it looks
you
good.
yeah. This is more contrary. Like uh you can crouch to shoot. You can kind of like change your trajectory of your bullets a little bit. But it seems like you just have infinite ammo in big mode. One weird thing about between the North American version of NES Predator and the Japanese version is the Japanese version starts you out with a big mode level,
Oh,
which the North American version does not. However, the manual for the North American NES version says that you start out in the big mode level,
whoops.
which you do not. So,
I had another difference between the two. Well, actually, it's technically a difference between the movie and the game. Um, in the movie,
mhm.
Arnold's character says, "If it bleeds, we can kill it." It uses that quote on the back of the NES box, but instead of saying "kill," it says "destroy." And the
Oh,
reason
I wonder,
why is
is
because
that a Nintendo thing?
it is. It's a censorship thing that Nintendo had,
Huh.
especially back in the day. There's a bunch of games that had to change some of their stuff coming over from
They they
Japan to
had
the
to get
US.
that seal of approval.
Yeah, that the reason why is because they disallowed the use of the word "kill" if used in a violent context.
Yeah, that's it's like if you watch a Smash Brothers tournament, and if it's like officially sanctioned by Nintendo, they have to call things stocks, or like you lose a stock instead of dying.
Oh, you can't lose a
You
life?
can't. Nope.
Oh,
It's
that's
a stock.
boy. Who are they? Wow. All right. Well,
Yeah,
hey.
so they have to soften that blow of life and death a little bit. Don't get me started on. I should get myself
Nintendo
started.
censorship. Yeah.
No, just Nintendo's reluctance to support their competitive communities currently.
Oh, yeah, that's an entirely different rabbit hole. I'm sure that you could. I'm not too attuned to it, but I know that it's an issue.
Oh, I guess just the very quick rundown is the canceled support for an online Melee tournament because Melee does not natively have online. Uh, and people were kind of in an uproar about it. And there was I think, a Splatoon tournament that was happening, and that was actually going to be like streamed by Nintendo. And the teams picked team names that were in support of the Melee community, and Nintendo canceled that stream.
Jeez.
So that's your weekly Nintendo's out of touch with its community segment.
Yeah.
Love your games. You got bad community support, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Um,
They take some stances that I can't. I just can't seem to wrap my head around.
yeah, it's and I think it's more the from what I've heard, it's more the Japanese side than the US side. The US side wants wants to play ball,
Hmm.
but they're kind of their hands are tied. Um, back to Predator, back to the developer, Pack-In Video. Um, they have a little interesting history. Um, like I mentioned before, they've done other tie-in games with famous Hollywood movies like Die Hard and Rambo. Um, but since the '90s, they've kind of changed names a little bit. They were acquired by, or they merged with Victor Entertainment and became Victor Interactive Software, which specialized in fishing games. A lot of Japanese stuff that I haven't heard of. Um, but in recent years, I think they were Victor until about 2003, when then they were also acquired by Marvelous Entertainment, which is still going today, I believe. Marvelous Entertainment, you might know from such games as Harvest Moon stuff. They did Snowboard Kids. Uh, they did East Strategy,
Okay.
or they published East Strategy, which is a strategy East game, which is weird. Yeah, Story of Seasons. They currently hold the Harvest Moon franchise, which is not the Harvest Moon of old. Oh no. Sorry, Story of Seasons is Harvest Moon, isn't it? Now
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that's how that's known now.
I'm very confused by
Because I think doesn't
this.
Harvest Moon belong with something else?
Uh, yeah, I think.
That's been a tough thread to follow too over the last couple years.
Yeah, that's very very rough. There was a Back the Game. Are you kidding me?
Back the game?
Beck, like the musical artist, but
Oh.
it was an anime and manga, not about the musical artist, but about like a teenage rock band in Japan. It's a very good show.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, Marvelous has done a lot of publishing, a ton of publishing, um, and that's a name you might know today. That Pack and Video has evolved into over time.
And I actually did a little bit of research, less on Pack and Video and a little bit more on Klon because I couldn't
Yeah, who is Klon?
So
Tell me about
Klon
Klon.
became known as Dual Corporation in 1993. Um, that might not do
Sounds
much
familiar.
for you. The only game that I saw that they've worked on that I recognized was Shinobi.
Like the PS2 Shinobi or
I miss.
Shinobi for the
I
Genesis?
think the like OG Shinobi.
OG Shinobi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
Arcade, I guess.
Let me see if I can find. Um, okay, that one says developed by Sega. Let me see.
Yeah, I mean Sega's the IP holder.
Let me. What else? What else do you have?
I don't have much else on Predator, other than I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but it's probably good still. The game probably not so much.
This was okay. They worked. Okay, they must be credited as an additional developer because it says it's developed by Team Shinobi, but it's the 1987 Shinobi.
Oh, the arcade game, huh?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
So, but yeah, that's all I've got for Predator as well.
Yeah.
The game's hard.
It's a movie tie-in with poor controls, with an interesting history.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
nice little time capsule.
And then we have one more game before our big break.
Yes, and this one
Oh, this is a
was
wild one.
it was of all of the games on this week's list. This was the one where I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna find anything for
It,
this.
this is like the surprising one next to Tetris. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, right.
So
There's actually some stories associated with this game.
yeah, this
Chris,
one it goes a little bit down a rabbit hole, which is fun. So
tell me about UFC Undisputed 2010
I would love to
for the PlayStation 3.
for the PlayStation 3. Yes, this is developed by Ukes Company.
Who did a bunch of WWE games for years and years. So
Yeah, in fact, they just lost the license to that recently because of the poor showing. Didn't that go to Visual Concepts?
Yeah, visual con well, we could talk about it in a bit, but,
Okay, yeah.
uh
Anyways, published by THQ.
mhm,
It is a fighting slash simulation UFC game. Released in 2010. Released on the PlayStation 3, which is what we're covering. Also on the PSP, the PS Vita, and the Xbox 360.
yes.
Um, so yeah, it is a full UFC simulation game.
Yeah,
So almost every nugget of information I have came from Gamma Sutra,
yeah.
and it was a fun day reading through this stuff. But
Yeah, so this was the 2nd UFC game, the
yes,
2nd officially branded one. What was weird was, I guess I'll get into the slight backstory with the UFC game franchise was,
are you gonna get
uh,
well before you get into the hullabaloo?
yeah.
Um,
You wanna talk about the game
yeah,
itself,
let me share
or
a little bit about the game, and then we'll yeah.
sure.
So in this iteration, the things that 2010 included were something called an Ultimate Fights mode, which allowed players to relive some of the more memorable fights in UFC history, and had some unlockables and cool things tied to that.
Fight as Shaq
You can
at the
fight
end
as
of this game,
Shaquille O'Neal. Yep.
which, man, that's gonna be a wrestling thing soon. So, coming up in this year of 2020, Shaq is on AEW Dynamite tomorrow, December 9th, to probably challenge Cody Rhodes. Anyways,
Okay, all right, interesting. I've
yeah.
not been keeping up with wrestling in a long time, but I'm
Oh,
always excited to hear
wrestling
these
is
nuggets.
wild in the last week. It's lots of stuff happening. It's very good. I'm actually very excited to watch another wrestling show tonight because of AEW last week. Um, oh, I'll tell you about it probably off this, but
Okay, I'm genuinely curious.
it's great. They're doing very cool cross promotion storylines.
Nice.
Yeah.
This game. So, John, do you remember an EA Sports Online Pass? Do you remember
Yes. Yep.
about? Okay.
Yeah. So that was when EA started doing online stuff and wanted to have people pay extra to play their online modes, even though like people already had Xbox Live. Um, did they make the games like $10 cheaper or something,
Well,
and like charge you $10 for the online pass?
I didn't look into too much about the EA Sports one, but
Yeah,
THQ being the publisher, they did the same thing. Um, here's how they did it. If you bought UFC brand new, you got a code in the case uh,
that's right.
that
That's
allowed
right.
you to access online play.
That's right.
If you bought the game used, you have to pay another $5 to play
Yeah,
online. And it was
yeah.
called Fan Access. Oh, by the way, access is spelled AXXESS. Gross.
Ex-
Um,
Excess. There's a lot of it, and
mhm.
it's accessible.
Yeah. But so that was one thing that they had started, I believe, with this second game. They didn't have it on the first, but they had
It
rolled it out
If
for
you
this
think
one.
about it, during that time too, it's just 10 years ago, there was a lot of talk in the game industry about how used games were hurting developers and publishers, and this was kind of a way for publishers to recoup some money, regardless if their game was sold used through like GameStop. Um, this was also during this was 2 years after the recession started, so a lot of people are buying used games because money was kind of hard to come by. A lot of people were having some hard times.
Yeah, and you actually
And
saying that reminds me of we'll get to it in a second, but there's an article that I didn't link in here that I'll remind me to circle back
yeah,
on. But as I said, most of my information came from Gamma Sutra for this game specifically, and I thought it was surprising. Again, not being a big UFC fan, I mean, I've seen a couple fights and stuff like that, but I'm not trying to buy the latest pay per view or anything like that.
sure.
Um, the articles that had to do with like NPD numbers and sales and just industry wide, like here are the big releases, continuously called out UFC as being one of the big ones that were kind of leading a month. Like, this look forward to Super Mario Galaxy 2 and UFC Undisputed 2010. And I thought that was strange. And that's maybe me being from the outside looking in
Yeah.
and not realizing that UFC, the Undisputed franchise and all that was as popular as it was.
Right, and I was a little bit behind on combat sports at the time, and like I still am. Like I'm not a huge fan of MMA, but like it's on my radar now.
Mhm.
But like especially in like 2009, 2010, it was getting very popular with people. Um, I remember going to like Buffalo Wild Wings with some old Game Informer people and just watching like the Ronda Rousey fights.
Oh, okay.
And like it was a big deal. Like, oh yeah, we're all gonna go and we're gonna watch UFC.
Oh, I want Buffalo
And,
Wild Wings now. Thank you.
hey, me too, but I don't think it'll happen
It's so
tonight.
far away. Anyways.
Where's the closest one? It's like half an hour out.
Yeah, about a half hour.
Yeah, mine's like 15, 20 minutes. I found out. Um, I'm a little bit basic with some of my food stuff that I like. And I know some people would cringe at this, but I really like Panda Express
Oh no,
like a
I
lot.
don't. I'm not gonna cringe at that. I
Like
would eat some
I'm
Panda Express.
right, but like I deeply prefer it over like Lianchin.
Okay,
And
I don't
the
know the difference between the two. So
it's just like a taste thing, and usually I like to have certain Americanized Chinese food, and Lianchin usually doesn't have it or it doesn't taste good to me. But Panda Express has what I really like, and I found out that well, currently the closest ones are like 15, 20 minutes away from me. I found out that they're building one like 7 minutes away.
ooh,
So
nice.
that will be open very soon, and I will be eating it every day. Um, sorry for that weird tangent, but
I'm also
uh,
realizing I didn't have dinner now. Boy,
yeah, I didn't either,
we've
but
certainly made a mess of
I think this will. We said it before the show. I think we're gonna come in under our estimates
I
usually.
think it'll be less than 3 hours. Yeah.
I think it'll be yeah. So Timmy, you're welcome. You can have an hour of your life back probably, unless we just talk about fast food chains for the
Mhm.
next hour and a half. Back to UFC.
Yeah. Um, I don't know what you were saying when
Oh,
we got onto
so
Buffalo Wild
I
Wings.
was saying, like, this was when I feel like the growth of UFC was, like, hitting a fever pitch.
Yeah, I think you're
Like,
right. 20
it was entering the popular culture zeitgeist.
Yeah, this was when I was in college, and you couldn't go to a bar on a Friday night during a UFC fight without, um,
You just could
just
not find a place to
locking
sit.
elbows with everybody in the place.
Yeah, imagine that these days.
I know, I was just thinking as I was, like, telling that story, I'm like, I actually think I kinda miss that.
I'll watch stuff from, like, 10 years ago, like, a bunch of people in a bar, and, like, how do you doing that?
You guys, you're touching 6 feet.
No one is wearing a mask. Oh,
Oh,
see, 'cause everybody washed their hands. Yeah, so it's around that time, and this being like the second one, obviously, like sometimes the first one's a little bit rocky, but people are really looking forward to the second iteration of a game that was promising.
mhm.
And I think that's why this ended up on this list of like, hey, this is coming up. You should probably check this out. And I do remember this game uh being in that category, like you mentioned. But also, this game had some controversy around it. I don't know if you want to get into that, Chris, but or yet,
Well,
but
we're
we're
close.
definitely getting into it.
We are. So the game actually it debuted at number 2 in terms of sales in the UK. The only game that beat it out was Red Dead Redemption, which came out the week prior.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's not surprising. And in fact, I was shocked again to see it placed that high. Granted, the competition was there.
What what month was this? Was this
This would have been,
October? or
believe
March?
April.
Okay.
Actually, March sounds right now too that you said that. One of
The
those
U
12
it's
months.
May 25th, 2010, which is I'd like to point out that they did it right. They actually released a sports game with a year in it in
Right.
the year that it was released.
Yeah, I actually had to double check it at one point, like, hold on, this never happens.
No, I actually wrote it down as 2009, and then like looked, I'm like, oh crap, it is 2010. They
So
got smart.
it's yeah, so I mean it debuted at number 2, but the thing is number 2 at that time was actually I mean it was that's great, but it was not where they needed to be. In June, it was reported that the game was selling slower than anticipated, and even got a $20 discount, I think, on Amazon after being out for a week. Um, and this in turn then caused THQ to lower their first quarter financial estimates. They knocked it down 4 million, which they had already re-advised earlier, which brought their total expectation down to 193, which was 10 million off of what their expectation was. Um, Now we're getting a little bit into part of the controversy, not the big controversy, which I think is super fun. Um,
It's
but
very fun.
the game actually did rate very well. It was a highly regarded game, but that had two main things going against it. First was Red Dead, came out the week
Yeah,
before during a recession. This is a
yeah.
difficult thing to buy two games in 2 weeks. The other thing is that the sequel was pushed out too quickly. Um, and I wanted to touch on that for a little bit because I think this is
Is that like a 9-month turnaround or something?
it
Like, is
is, yes.
ridiculous. Yeah,
And for a roster that was widely unchanged, gameplay that was not very different, a couple of new modes added here and there. But
is
I think,
very iterative.
yeah, I think this is one of the biggest problems with sports games across the board. Annualized
Right,
releases for games that just they don't change. They're updated rosters. And it's
right.
bothered me for years. That's why I haven't played Madden for the last like 6
Right.
or 7 years.
Is it a problem if people pay the full price every year? Like,
Well, I think it is. Well, I think it's in the great like in the grand scheme of things, I think it's a problem because what it does is it allows developers to be lazy with and I hate saying that. I don't like saying that. I don't want to call developers lazy or anything like that. But you look at a game like Madden, a game that has not iterated on itself at all, except for very
I
minor
feel like
yearly updates.
every year they pick like one aspect of Madden, and they're like, we're going in on defense, we're going in on the truck stick, we're going in on the play calling. The QB is the star of this show,
Yeah, and
and
I think when you I think sports games get a pass for this, and it bothers me because other franchises can't do it, or they tried and they failed. Look at Assassin's Creed. Um, Assassin's Creed was an annualized series for the longest time, and
right,
and eventually, I mean, people paid for it. The thing is, it's different than a sports game because you've got a new world to create, you've got new characters, you've got a new story. It takes a lot more work
yeah,
to build something like that. You've got multiple teams working on it, though, kind of like Black or like Call of Duty, which again does the same thing, but yet it's a different experience for the most part. Multiplayer is what it is, but the experience itself changes. I could plop in Madden 2019 and Madden 2020, play them for an hour, play one for an hour, play the next for an hour, and have no idea what the difference was.
right,
Assassin's Creed, they got called out for it. They switched to a 2-year cycle, and they're back, kind of turning out games that people really enjoy again.
yeah.
Not it's not. Some people want to go back to that old format of that's like gameplay wise, but I don't think there's anybody screaming to get back to annualized Assassin's Creed games. I think them this is analysts calling out UFC for this move is a move. I think that the same mentality should be applied to every Madden game, every MLB The Show game, every NBA game. But the problem is the fans will not stop paying the money, and that's why I think it's a problem. It it
Well,
it, it in instills in developers that we can do the minimal amount of work on this and be fine.
Sure. And I do have a slight rebuttal to this, and I do think that there should be more of a focus on roster updates or a living game, especially with sports games these days. A lot of it is like when you compare it to Assassin's Creed, like Madden is one studio. It's EA Tiburon typically that handles Madden each year,
Mm-hmm.
and Assassin's Creed is handled by like five different studios.
Right.
So like while they were pumping out like an Assassin's Creed every year, they're doing it with three different like main Assassin's Creed studios and every other Ubisoft studio, like satellite studio, and like art contractors, and there's like 1,000 people on each game, which I don't think is the case with sports games. Um, so I feel like measuring those two, while like on the surface, like they look comparable, I don't think they quite are.
And that's
Also,
fair.
the other thing, which I was watching the Digital Foundry review of NBA 2K1 this week, from the point of view of somebody who isn't typically into playing sports games, and he mentioned that up front. He's like, this review is going to be mostly graphical, in nature. I don't really play basketball games, so not really going to touch on that very much. But one of the things that he did touch on is there's so much in the way of like animation and AI that has to make your brain think that you're watching that sport, and if things look off in a certain way, it's going to break the experience. Where I feel like that's where you have that's where you can kind of like point towards like maybe sports games should be more games as a service, like put like $5 a month into like a subscription or something for a battle pass or something,
Mm-hmm.
to keep that studio updating that game yearly or even monthly, as seasons go through the actual sport. But um, there's a lot more. Uh, there's a lot more that your brain anticipates with a football game than it does with an Assassin's Creed. You know what football looks like. If you're a fan of it, you know how people move, how plays are drawn out, how plays are executed, how bodies are supposed to react in certain ways, how different players react. There's a lot of attention to detail in those sorts of things, which I think excuses them not touching every single part of the game each year, because they could be tweaking certain aspects of different players. Like there's a draft each year. There's new players that come out. There's new personalities. There's uh, a bunch of different aspects that they need to pay attention to than what's Altair gonna do on this one.
Yeah, I'm
It,
100% on board with what
and
you're
I
saying.
am not saying that you are wrong in any way. I'm
Oh
just
no, no.
putting it out there that development is different between those two genres.
Yeah, the thing that I the reason that it bothers me is because I don't think the fans of those games can appreciate what a 2-year development cycle could do for something like that.
Right.
Put the game out, support it, keep supporting it, work on meaningful changes going forward instead of these iterative things that really don't push anything forward. They just maintain a level of, I mean, Madden got ripped apart this year when it released. And
Yeah.
I was I don't want to say I'm glad to see a game fail, but I want to see
Well,
them do more.
they have to go back to the drawing board. But also I think they're working on Frostbite now, right? Like they're running on an engine that wasn't made for sports,
Right, yeah, that's true.
which is weird. And that they were kind of like forced into that. But um, they're also working with geez, they're doing PC versions now. They just put out I think they just put out the next gen versions of both Madden games of the PS5 and Series X.
Maybe I
I
should
know
maybe
they
I
did.
should load up Madden. I don't
I
know if
know
the
they did
new one
for
is available on Game Pass. Maybe not.
I don't think it is, but maybe there's a demo.
Because I think, well, EA Play is now part of Game Pass. Most of those games
It
are, I
is. You
think.
you might get the like
Maybe
5-hour demo or something.
yeah, maybe I mean, maybe it's worth jumping in there and just see where it's at now, but,
Right.
that's what I got tired of. I used to be guilty of it, especially with MLB The Show.
Right.
Um, I would buy it all the way up until, like, 2014 or 2015. I think I bought year after year after year after year, and then I started to kind of realize, and that's where I kinda started to adopt that mentality, like, they could do so much more. There's so many things that I just wish that they would implement, but they don't give themselves enough time. They work on other things, or
Right.
they
And I feel like one of the big differentiators each year now is like their story mode. Like, oh, like what kind of like story can we put into this? It's a lot more cinematic, and you go from like a high school or a college football player um to the big leagues. Um, I wonder if they could if they did put Madden on a 2-year cycle, if it's like Madden 2022, you release a game, you put like the first part of a story out. You put like your character goes to the NFL and like plays out like their first year in the NFL. And then when 23 is supposed to come out, they bring out a new story expansion to that, but like and do like big roster updates, but don't actually like touch the core of the game too much.
Mhm.
24 comes out and it's a vastly different experience.
Yeah.
Is that something more
I
in line with
I
what you'd
think
want to
that
see?
would be I think that would be awesome because there's no shortage of I've gone onto Reddit boards for again, the show is the one that I keep coming back to because I'm a huge baseball nut.
Yeah,
I got onto the Reddit boards and I've seen developers chime in on different asks, things that, the community has chimed in on because they are actually very good with their community. Um,
right.
and this is one of the things we have lined up. This is one of the things that we're going to be doing. But it never gets done. Um, and just
Well,
giving themselves that extra development time can really, I think it can make a more substantial change to make that end product, that next version of the game, something so much more special than an iteration on last year's game.
right. And I think this is a theory on my part more than anything. I don't really have any real data to back this up, but I feel like a lot of sports games for companies are kind of the moneymaker.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I would agree with
kind of
that.
like the easy money, the easy blockbuster. So their budgets may not be as big as other games to increase that overhead, or increase the profits that they would generate from it, and put that money elsewhere in the company. So maybe it's also that sort of situation as well,
Yeah,
where like they're like, hell yeah, we want to do all this stuff, but like our hands are kind of tied. Like we're kind of stuck with the stuff that we already need to update, and we can only eke out a truck stick or like some sort of gameplay innovation.
yeah, and I think that's where it falls to the fans to start demanding more from their games to help them
Totally. Like
those
you vote with your wallet,
expectations.
you vote with your reviews.
Yeah,
Don't review bomb. Give honest opinions.
yeah,
Give respectful opinions.
right.
Don't these are real people that are making these products. Don't be jerks to them. But try to start a polite discussion on a Discord or a Reddit or an official forum if you want to see change. UFC Undisputed
Well, yeah,
2010. If you want to see some change get done, maybe don't go up against Dana White when you're trying to change some things.
yes, he's a very angry individual. Can be.
Uh, so this like I mentioned before is the second UFC game. Previously, uh, Dana White had shopped the video game idea to EA Sports, who's the king of sports franchises, the sole owner of the NFL franchise at this time, the sole owner of the PGA franchise, NHL. Uh, don't think NBA. I think NBA was still split, but this was around the time that Live was also kind of crap in the bed. Um, he shopped out the UFC idea to EA. They turned him down. So he ended up going to THQ and Ukes and making the first UFC Undisputed, which was a pretty big hit for a debut sports game. Um, so so the year after, they're making UFC Undisputed 2010, and EA announces that they are also making an MMA game. Chris, what's that MMA game called?
Well, the all that I saw, and I don't have the actual name of it, but it just said EA Sports announced an EA Sports MMA title.
Yeah, it's just called EA Sports MMA.
Is that all it's called? Oh,
Yep.
that's boring.
It has a tribal tattoo looking logo because of course it does.
Gross.
Just, of course it does. I'm gonna post this in Discord quick, so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, they announced this on June 1st, 2009. That EA Sports was making an MMA game. Which Dana White, famous calm man, very, very calm,
Right.
never overreacts to anything. Was very mad about this. And was very mad when people who were signed to the UFC started showing up as characters in this EA Sports MMA game. Chris, this was a lot of the rabbit hole that you went down, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Just listening to Dana White just unload on EA Sports, claiming that he personally was at war with EA.
Yep.
Threatening to blacklist any fighter.
Any
fighter that would be making an appearance in EA Sports. Yeah, this man got a little incensed by the whole situation.
He was heated. So yeah, there were like former UFC stars that were going to be in this MMA game. Former heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia, Andre Arlovsky, and Frank Trigg were confirmed. Dana White, with his scorched earth policy, with this said, "You're done. You're dead to me. You're blacklisted. Get out of here." However, a UFC fighter who was still under contract, Randy Couture, very popular MMA fighter, was also signed to be in EA Sports MMA. However, Dana did not blacklist him, because how do you blacklist like one of your most popular fighters? He was under contract with UFC, but UFC did not own his likeness for video games. So he skirted the legal issue.
Yeah.
just really slid under the wire there. And that was kind of near the end of Dana White freaking out about this thing.
Yeah, he did eventually back off on those comments. He was approached by, he was at, there was a, I think it was a release party for maybe Undisputed 3. I don't recall for sure, but I think Kotaku actually caught up with him and caught him while he was like trying to sneak out the back door or something, the way the article reads. But they asked him about EA and he like stopped and turned around and like sat down and had a conversation. And he did back off. I'll have the article pinned in Discord, not pinned, but it'll be in there in Discord, where
Yeah.
he kind of backs off on his comments, and he's, I don't know if he goes so far as to say he might have overreacted or anything like that, but there's a specific quote that, now this is a quote from Dana White, who is he's a very angry, sensitive man. Now, if this is an accurate quote, I can understand why I wouldn't, but I can understand why he got so upset. When he approached EA, the quote that he gave was what EA said to him, where it was that you are not a real sport. We wouldn't touch this thing. We want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So they didn't just say no. They're like, go live a better life.
Which also, this goes back to, this is when UFC was on the rise. Like,
Yeah. People hadn't really wrapped their
it
head
was
around what
popular,
this
but it
was.
wasn't like mainstream.
Yeah.
It's not what it is today. It's not get away with fight islands during COVID and people being okay with it for the
Yeah.
most part. UFC. This is them kind of like tip of the iceberg of popularity. I could see EA saying that. Also, like, they have a pretty robust sports roster already, and none of it was combat stuff. And a lot of their output at that time that was related to fighting were like Def Jam Vendetta,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff was pretty recent.
And I think they would have had Fight Night then, boxing at that time too.
Yes,
So,
they did have Fight Night Champion and Fight Night Round 2 and
but the
all that.
closest they got to anything UFC
Which,
related.
oh man, Fight Night Round 2 is like one of my favorite fighting games of all time.
Oh, really?
So good. So
Interesting.
well, also that was a launch title for the 360.
Oh, okay.
Very close to. So one of the few games I had, but also just really fun to play. I played a ton of that when it came out on like PSP. I bought it on there. It would just play the portable version all the time. So good. I actually really want to play those
Are you a big
again.
boxing fan?
No,
Nope. Just
no,
like punching people in games.
it just looks really good. Like, it's so up close. Um, and like there's so much detail on the characters, and like as you're going through, like sweat will start to pour down their faces. Um, and like as you get like punched or you punch your opponent, like you start to see the bruises start to swell, or like eyes swell shut, or like blood starts coming out in places, like realistically.
Okay.
um just a very neat, pretty realistic boxing game.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think people should look. um they do have Fight Night Champion, I think is what it's called. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One and Series X and Series S. I think it's like $20, but I've been considering buying that and playing that, even though it's like, it was when that series was waning. But I think it's the newest one that's been out.
Okay.
And after watching the Tyson fight with Roy Jones Jr. a couple weekends ago, it's kind of getting me in that mood. And also seeing, sorry to tangent again,
Okay.
but
Yeah, go nuts.
seeing that Floyd Mayweather wants to fight Logan Paul.
Yeah, I
Jake
heard about
Paul?
that, and that was the first time I
One
actually
of
found
the two.
out there were two Pauls.
Yeah, and they're both awful.
Yeah.
They're both just the worst people. Or they seem like they are. They're very
I know one of them definitely is. I don't know much
yeah,
about Logan.
they're both just obnoxious, famous, rich people for being on Vine, I think, originally.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, I feel like we're gonna witness a murder there.
I
I
almost
think
said I hope so, but
I think
that's maybe
Mayweather's
too
just
strong.
straight up break that dude's face. Um,
So the third part of this little adventure,
yep.
we had talked about before the Dana White thing. We had talked about how, the game was not hitting expectations. But to put in perspective how much it underperformed, despite it being third in sales for that month, at the end of the month, it sold less than half the units the previous version of the game sold.
Oof. Yeah, that's bad.
And then,
Also, it was May, so like back in 2010, like nothing's coming out in May. I think the only game that was coming out
yeah,
was this and Red Dead.
this and then Super Mario Galaxy 2 was the other
Oh man, okay, yeah,
banger.
all right, yeah. You
Um,
had to come out strong against the Rockstar game.
yeah, and then so by the end of fiscal year 2011, it did see the sale of 3 million copies of the game, but that was still pretty far under expectations.
Hmm.
And in what is a little piece of industry irony, after the release of UFC Undisputed 3, then a year later,
Yep.
the UFC rights were sold to none other than EA. So,
Shocked. I'm shocked.
yeah, I
Shocked. Which,
wanted to find a reaction from Dana White to that little piece of information, but at that point, I couldn't find anything.
yeah, no, I'm sure. Well, Dana White's a businessman, first and foremost.
Yeah,
So
I mean, in the end,
the
he got his
all of
wish.
the
So,
decisions, like the freak out that he did with the previous game, um, was more a money play, I think, than anything.
oh yeah,
Um, I just saw an interview with former WWE wrestler and former UFC fighter CM Punk, where he said that he was asked by it was Renee Paquette, who used to work for WWE. She's a great journalist. But she was asking him, like, do you see a similar uh are Dana White and Vince similar? Vince McMahon. And Punk said, uh not I'll skip the more political part, but he said that they vote with whatever pads their pocketbooks. So
ah,
like
yeah,
the most important thing to them is the money that they bring in. And I think for Dana, the actual money is probably more important than for Vince. I think Vince wants to keep his legacy and his company going. Uh, but I think for Dana White, it's probably more money.
Hmm.
From what I've gathered, so I could see like him just kind of like eating crow a little bit and signing this deal to have a solid partnership. Their partnership's still going. There's a EA UFC game that came out earlier this year,
oh wow, yeah.
um, that I think was rather well received.
Yeah,
I haven't heard
they seem to come out and they seem to be, good representations of the sport that they are trying to, mimic.
right, and I think that's a series that you can look at that, like, I don't know if it's every year, but I feel like they do make some meaningful improvements to the gameplay
Okay.
each.
So, I mean, yeah, with 2010 specifically, I mean, there's three scores that showed up on Moby: 89, 80, and a 72. So there's a little bit of a range there, but it is toward the higher end. Metacritic currently sits at an 85 with a user score of 7.2. So there's a little bit of a spread there
Right.
between critics and users. But and then for purchase, I saw some physical versions on Amazon for between 40 and $50. On eBay, I saw a used copy for $8. I don't know, probably PlayStation Store, maybe still.
Maybe. I wonder if because they don't have the license anymore, if they can.
Yeah, that would be, yeah. But
Uh, I tried looking at a used game store by me, and they had UFC 2009 and they had 2011. They did not have 2010. 2010 also had Brock Lesnar on the cover, so we are in Minnesota. So
UFC 2011, who would have made that one?
I don't know.
Because
Oh
the follow up to
no,
this one was Undisputed 3.
which is 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, like this one is technically UFC Undisputed 2.
Oh, okay. I thought they just named, like, switched the naming convention for the third one because I've only seen this one addressed as UFC Undisputed 2010, and I've
Oh yeah,
only seen the follow
sorry.
up as
Yeah,
UFC Undisputed 3.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, but that's all I've got for UFC, which was a lot. All of
Same.
the articles that I used will be posted in the Discord if you guys want to read it and get into
We
it a little
went
bit.
everywhere with that. We went to football.
We did.
We went to pro wrestling.
Yeah. We talked about
We
Buffalo Wild Wings.
games. We talked about Panda Express.
I think that's a good time to take a break. We'll see you in a bit. All right, welcome back. Ready for part 2, John?
We're back. I'm ready.
Let's do it. We've got some.
It's like part 3/5,
Part
fourth fifths.
I mean, if we break up the individual sections, it's like
We're always like 2/3 of the episode when we
7/11ths.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about this old classic
Mm-hmm.
by the toy headquarters themselves, which UFC was also a toy headquarters game.
Wait, what? What is Toy Headquarters?
THQ.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ain't that some stuff?
I don't think I learned that until like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, I guess I never
It's like
thought to figure out what it meant.
Toy headquarters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Published by THQ, right?
Yes.
Okay. Continue.
Published by THQ. This is we got the Game Boy version of this game. I think we're kind of covering both. Weirdly, they're pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a Super Nintendo version of this game. It is Ren and Stimpy Show Veediots.
Yeah.
Released in 1993. The Super Nintendo version was developed by Gray Matter Inc. Once again, published by THQ. The Game Boy version, according to the title screen, was it's a software by THQ. So
okay, I had some issues. Yeah, I had some issues finding out or trying to establish who developed the Game Boy one. I put Gray Matter as specific to the SNES, not knowing if they were also responsible for the development of the Game Boy version.
Right. I have no idea. I couldn't find anything either. So, but the visuals are pretty similar. So I wonder if they just kind of slapped together the Game Boy version as well.
Yeah, and I have in the Discord, you'll see pictures of the title screen side. Well, not side by side, up and down, I guess. And some screenshots from the first level showing how similar they are, despite them being on two very different pieces of hardware.
Which is kind of impressive.
It is impressive.
The sprites for Ren and Stimpy on the Game Boy look great.
They're on point.
Awesome. Yeah. The levels look a little bit iffy, but like the main characters look awesome. Can't fault them there. They did make a few sacrifices with the Game Boy version. They took out well, I guess to get into it, the Super Nintendo version was it takes place over the course of like 4 episodes of Ren and Stimpy.
Yep.
Or 4 stories. The first one is The Boy Who Cried Rat. The second is In the Army. The third one is Stimpy's Invention. And the fourth one is Marooned. And that runs the gamut from like Ren and Stimpy inside their house. And like Ren is a mouse. And he lives inside Stimpy's mouth. I don't know. It's weird stuff. In the Army is like Ren. In the Army, he's wearing like a helmet and traversing an army area. Stimpy's Invention. Stimpy is a scientist. And you're in a big place with beakers and test tubes and different like tubes and wires going everywhere. And I didn't see Maroon, but it looks like it is it's a space related episode.
That one, I guess I didn't see anything about Marooned either. I found I had the differences between the two versions, but maybe it's worth taking a detour here.
Yeah.
There's a chance that there's people listening to this that have never heard of or know what Ren and Stimpy are.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is an old Kid show is a
I mean, this is
stretch.
my childhood. Yeah,
I'm still not old enough to watch some of that show.
it was like the bridge between like Nicktoons and Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, in fact, I was just as like when I was a kid, and I would have like Beavis and Butthead on. I would have it like turned down, like in my bedroom or in the living room. I'd have it turned down so my parents would not hear what I was watching. Beavis and Butthead, not okay in my house. Ren and Stimpy was
Very
okay in
okay,
my house.
very okay. My parents liked it.
Did they? Okay. But I had
I
the same fear, like the same trepidation with watching it because I'm like, if my parents bust in, they're not going to let me watch this anymore. Like, it was a
well,
weirdly adult show.
I think the differences were there weren't like sexual references, and there wasn't swearing, but like they had like gross humor. So it's a lot of like boogers and earwax and butts
Yeah.
and and uh uh belly button lint and like very extra detailed like gross imagery
Yeah.
of all of
They
those
would like
things.
zoom in to like somebody's smile and you'd see like bits of food and like
Or
yellowed teeth and just
cockroach. Like it was almost like it was. Oh man, I guess to reference another cartoon around that time is like the like Beetlejuice, like the opening of the Beetlejuice cartoon,
yeah,
where he's like centipede stuff like crawling around his mouth.
I mean, and when the show was done on Nickelodeon, it found a second life for a little while on HBO, and it
Mhm.
was it was let's just say it, the shackles were off at that point. It got
Yeah,
into some stuff that I think it definitely wouldn't have flown on Nick at the time. So,
right. Yeah,
um,
no, no.
but yeah,
But
it's
like
I used
Ren
to
and
love the
Stimpy
show
gave us
nonetheless.
like they gave us iconic things like Log, Powdered Toast Man. Um, there's just so much stuff in in that original run of Ren and Stimpy that's I don't know if it stands the test of time. I haven't watched it in a
Oh,
long time, but like
I'm sure that show does not survive on television in 2020 on a kids show or on a kids
no,
network.
no, but you put that on like Comedy Central, and I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah,
It's been on like MTV, Spike TV, MTV2. Um, I mean, it's survived on multiple channels for like reruns. I think they're making new, yeah. Comedy Central greenlit a reboot
interesting.
uh, as of August 5th, 2020.
If I'm not
So
mistaken, the original creator got into some stuff though, so I wonder
yeah,
if
and
he's
he is not involved. It
okay.
says John Crickfalusi is not expected to work on the reboot, luckily.
Yeah,
So
he's a
thank you to
bad
its
man.
fandom. Yeah, he's doing some rough, shady stuff.
Yeah. But yes, back to the game. So
Mhm.
it's obviously based on the TV show.
Yeah, it's a platformer.
Yeah, 2D
That's
side-scrolling
what all.
platformer. It's you know, it harkened now the Game Boy version didn't do as much for me. When I watched the Super Nintendo stuff, I got some of that nostalgia that
Oh, the Super
nostalgic.
Nintendo one, like while the Game Boy one looks great for like the characters, like everything about the Super Nintendo one looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
they
does.
they nailed the art for the backgrounds, for the characters, the animations. It looks incredible.
Yeah, so the main differences between the two games, the boy who cried rat, which was the first episode, omits being in Stimpy's mouth and defeating the Tooth Beaver. The level order in the army and Stimpy's invention, so I think it's levels 2 and 3 are flip flopped for some reason.
But also like Stimpy's invention is like 5 levels in the Game Boy one.
Yeah,
It's
um,
weird. Like it is the bulk of that game.
and apparently when Ren gets to the boss battle, the happy helmet must land on Ren. So that must be a way that you beat the boss. I don't know much
Oh,
about that part. And then in the army, the game has Ren getting across the battlefield by riding on big bullets and avoiding the other soldiers, which must be different than
different.
the SNES version.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So and they took out Marooned altogether.
Okay, that would be
So
why I didn't see any
that fourth
reference to
bubble,
Marooned.
it's not there. It's only those 3.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's why I didn't really know what Marooned was, because I was looking at the Game Boy one.
Yeah, when you were talking about Marooned, I was just kind of smiling and nodding, like, yeah, I don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
and that one is them in space.
Okay.
So
Developed by Gray Matter.
mm,
Their first game was Infiltrator, but they turned out a lot of games that got a lot of licensed games. Mad Max, Dirty Harry, Captain Planet, James Bond
uh,
Jr., Wayne's World. But
I'd
none
say
of
the most.
sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say the most notable on here for me is Bob for the Super Nintendo.
That's one that I'd heard of, but I couldn't think of what it was. Wayne's World was the
Yeah,
one that stuck out to me.
Bob, you're like a little golden robot dude. It's just a platformer. I think you have like different weapons that you can get. I don't remember too much about it. Maybe we'll talk about it one day, but um, that's one that I definitely played when I was little.
Okay.
But yeah, also Wayne's World. I played Wayne's World as
Yeah.
well. Um,
So the eventually they labor issues and the general decline in the market is what brought the company eventually down, where they had to declare bankruptcy. But at the time of that, they were Canada's largest video game developer, um,
oh wow.
which I thought was interesting. But then I, off the top of my head, couldn't think of. I mean, except for like what's there now, like what EA Vancouver. Is that still that's still a studio, right?
Yeah, I think so. Also, Ubisoft.
Ubisoft,
Uh,
yeah. But so I guess
yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot up there now.
yeah.
Um,
In fact, they have like amazing like tax incentives for people to move to Canada to develop video games.
the Georgia of the world.
Yeah.
Um,
But I did
Jeez.
find one individual credit that I wanted to focus on. Do you have anything else for Gray Matter or the gameplay or game in general?
Not really. I mean, the gameplay, it's a very basic get from point A to point B. Like there's money that you collect. There's not a lot of like item management, or I don't think there's much of anything besides like platforming in that
Yeah,
game.
that's kind of the vibe I
Um,
was getting to.
yeah.
Um,
They focus a lot on making it look like Ren and Stimpy, which is neat.
and yeah, to be fair, they crushed it.
Which like in that day, like I was all in on that. Like any Ren and Stimpy game that came out, any like Tiny Toons game that came out, like they all to me looked exactly like the show at that point. And that's all that I needed. As a At this point, what it's 93. Yeah, I was 6 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, I could be fooled into most things. I
Yeah,
would
as an
play anything.
8-year-old, I was right there with you.
Good.
But
I'm glad I wasn't alone. Yeah. So continue. We could move on.
yeah, well, the person that I wanted to focus on is a man. His name's Kevin. I'm gonna say his last name's Hoare, Hoare. Um, he was credited on this game as being an additional programmer. Is that a name that rings a bell with you, Kevin Hoare?
No.
Okay,
Oh. Oh.
yeah.
I
Do you
I
see
just
why I
looked.
focused in on him?
Yeah, that's a hell of a resume.
So this guy's gone places. Um, so since working on the Ren and Stimpy show, Veediots, just to call out some of the stuff that he's worked on, he worked as the technical director for Max Payne 3.
Yeah, he did programming on the original Max Payne.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess I started kind of late, but he he's worked his way into something here. So,
Yeah,
technical director for Max Payne 3. He then went on to be a studio manager for Grand Theft Auto 5 and
yeah,
is I think currently functioning. I actually had a surprisingly hard time confirming some of this, but he worked as the studio director for Red Dead Redemption 2. That's nuts.
yeah, yeah.
That
That's
is
he's come a
basically
long way.
yeah, that is basically the pinnacle at this point of game development. I mean,
Yeah, that is
arguably, but
rags to riches.
yeah. So as an additional programmer in 1993 on a video game called The Ren and Stimpy Show Veediots,
Veediots.
here we are, what, go gadget math, 27
Let,
years later?
let's not discredit him. He did work on Bob as well.
Okay, all right, sorry, yes.
He
All
did
right.
work on Bob.
I
He
think we
was
should have
also
seen
a
this coming then.
programmer on Bob.
So yeah, I mean, the
Please.
fact that he's dedicated his life to this, and in 27 years he has moved on to head one of the most
One of the studios at Rockstar.
amazing development studios in the world. So I saw that, and I was just kind of flipping through names, and then I was like, this, they've done some things, they've done a little bit here. A lot of the people went away with gray matter, and then I got to Kevin, and I was like, oh, what have you done?
Yeah, I think right here, like just in the production credits for him, there's only 3, but it's a nice like sample of his trajectory. 2 of these were in the same year. He's a producer on Oni. He's a project lead on Max Payne, the original. And then he's studio director for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
While also working on, he was a studio president during Bully Scholarship Edition. Grand Theft Auto 4, all of the episodes from Grand Theft Auto 4, studio manager for 5. He did the intermissions art for Wayne's World.
Yeah.
He's definitely found a great deal of success.
Yeah, and that's finding him was like, it just felt really good because, again, procedurally generated, the idea came about as using a random path to find connections in the industry, and being able to connect somebody to this Ren and Stimpy game, who now is studio director of Rockstar. I don't know which studio specifically made Red Dead Redemption 2, but that's awesome. That's the kind of stuff that's worth celebrating in the industry. So good for him. And even more weird is that I've never heard his name. So
I've done it either.
But back to
Rockstar Toronto.
Okay.
That's where he currently is as president.
So okay.
Thank you, LinkedIn.
Yes.
Once again,
shoot! I did know that. I looked him up on LinkedIn.
I've been doing that a lot, and I feel bad for creeping on developers on LinkedIn, but I'm sure they get it all the time.
Right. Gosh, maybe we send him a LinkedIn message and see if he wants to talk about Ren and Stimpy.
Messages are locked.
Oh, sad day. All right, we'll find another way. But if you want to play or purchase the game, I saw pre-owned SNES cartridges and Game Boy cartridges on eBay for $9. They were both $8.99. I thought it was funny because I also saw a pre-owned SNES manual for the game that was $12.50. So the manual is more expensive than the game.
The game with a very damaged box for Super Nintendo is $50 Canadian.
Ooh.
Oh no, sorry, that's the box and manual only. Forget what I just said.
So $50 for the box and manual, no game.
Correct.
Or you could, okay. I don't understand how pricing
this
works.
This one is everything. It looks like part of the manual, but game, box, part of the manual, also damaged box. $47.98 Canadian.
Jeez. Is that what you would pay in a used game store if that was sitting there? No, right?
With the box, maybe. Depends on the game. Really depends on the game.
Huh. And for what it's worth, Moby had a single score for the Game Boy version of the game, which was 78, which was that's pretty good. Again, from what I saw, the character art looked really good in the Game Boy version, which I don't think you can say that very often about Game Boy games.
I watched a video review from a YouTuber don't remember the guy's name. I don't have the window up anymore. But he was like a really big Ren and Stimpy fan, and he's like, "This game is trash." But also, I think he was reviewing it like in 2015.
Yeah, I
So
can't think of many Game Boy games where you can go back and be like, "Oh, hey, this is amazing." It's just
right,
it's so hard to like make your brain revert back to the green and gray of a traditional Game Boy game.
yeah. I've been seeing a lot of Game Boy mods that like add backlights and make it like a actual like color LCD screen.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I couldn't even play a
Uh,
traditional Game Boy back in the day. Like I got a Super Game Boy for the Super
yeah.
Nintendo. That was the only way I could play like Pokemon and stuff. I couldn't play it on the actual
Oh
Game Boy.
yeah, yeah. You just didn't like the screen, or
Yeah,
you didn't like the Game Boy,
I
or you
just
just didn't have a Game
I
Boy?
was never I've never been a handheld fan. Even with my Switch, does not
Yeah,
come undocked unless Kate's playing something. I don't play anything undocked.
oh, sure, sure.
So I guess I'm just not a handheld fan.
No, my first experience with a Game Boy was my best friend growing up. His name's Mike. Hopefully, listener of this podcast. Um, he would bring over his Game Boy, and like whenever he came to like sleep over at my place, and my dad would just play Tetris all night. So, like that was almost like the payment for Mike to come stay over the night was bring Tetris for my dad. No, everything will be good.
That's all I've got for Ren and Stimpy. Kind of
Yeah, I
short and
don't have
sweet on that one.
much more. Yeah, there wasn't too much there. They do play the log theme in the first level, which is great. The log song will go down in history as one of the best songs ever made.
I think you're right.
Everyone loves a log. Um, and then our fifth and final game tonight is a community voted choice.
Let's give the options. So here were the 5 selections.
Yes,
You had the vote between SES, which was a
yes.
Dreamcast game.
Dreamcast. It was a Japanese,
It's like a visual
uh,
novel, right?
almost like a visual novel, but also I think it was like live action. It was FMV. I don't know if it was in English. That would be a very hard game to cover. Let's see if we do.
That's not going to
What
be
what
today.
what else is on this
We
list?
had Zombieland Double Tap Road Trip for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay,
FIFA Soccer 2004 for something. I don't actually know what console that one was for. Gradius for the Nintendo 3DS. And
uh-huh.
we had Majin Tensei. Tensei.
That's it.
I also don't know what console that was for. I didn't write that part down.
It's probably like PSP or something.
That sounds right. The big
Let's.
winner was Gradius.
It was Gradius.
And I say big winner because we only had one vote.
Yeah, we need more people.
We do. Now this week's been great. We've got 6 votes in. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's good. We don't, we're hoping
yeah.
to
We have
add people to make that community vote have more results coming
a
in. But
600% increase.
yes. So if you are we did agree to give everybody bronze, so maybe that was my fault. I'll open that up to bronze going
Probably, I think
forward.
that was just oversight. It's fine.
Um,
It's fine.
so we'll have more people to chime in on that. But
How will I vote, Chris? Come on.
you
Come
don't
on.
get to vote. You should have a vote that just is a tiebreaker like you did this week.
Yeah, that sounds
No,
right.
that's not true. If you know what, you're contributing to the Patreon, you should be able to vote. So I'm gonna
I
allow
should
it.
I should really pull my money. I don't know if I like this podcast.
Yeah,
Um,
you know.
yeah, giving it like a 6-week trial. Where should I? Yeah, I should actually up my contribution.
Yeah, you
So
missed
yeah,
the golden opportunity. By the way, you could have moved up to $100,
I
bought
could
Summon
have,
Night 5, made me play
and then
it,
make you play it.
but you blew it. Sorry, offers off the table.
Damn it,
Anywho,
Gradius.
Gradius for the Nintendo 3DS is a 2D scrolling shooter Developed by Konami, published by Konami, released in 2012, with the original release happening back in ye old 1986.
It's a virtual console game.
Is that how it was? That's how. Yeah, it is. You're right. So
This is the NES version.
that's true. This game has been released all over. It's been released on the
1,000
Amstrad.
times.
What?
I said it's been released 1,000 times.
It has. It's been released on the Amstrad CPC, the arcade, the Commodore 64, the MSX, the NES, the Nintendo Switch, the PC-88, the PS4, the Sharp X1, the Sharp X68000. You thought Xbox didn't know how to name their consoles. The TurboGrafx 16, Wii U, and the ZX Spectrum. They skipped 67,999 versions between the Sharp X1 and the Sharp X68000.
They really did.
Yeah. What were they thinking?
I mean, Xbox skipped about 359.
True.
And then subtracted about 359. Great. So Gradius is a classic, just hands down classic video game, a legendary game. It is an arcade side scrolling
Yep.
shmup, I guess.
I would
It does scroll
call
to the
that.
side.
It does. I've seen it.
You pilot a ship called the Vic Viper. They have very good names for ships in this series. And the whole goal is to shoot things in an arcadey manner.
So I thought
you collect. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I've played a lot of Gradius.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the story. So in doing my research, I found the description of what's going on. I'm gonna read it because it's so cool to have this backstory tied to a game that I just didn't even think twice about there being lore for.
It's probably just in like the NES manual or something.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that's all it was, but
be a track screen for the arcade version.
Yeah, here's kind of the synopsis. So, across the galaxy, there exists a distant planet known as Gradius. I had no idea Gradius was the name of the planet. A lush, beautiful world. The planet Gradius has thrived in peace for many years. Unfortunately, that peaceful existence came to a sudden end when Gradius became the target of a subspace star cluster known as Bacterian. Facing inevitable defeat before their ruthless invaders, Gradius has pinned its last hope on the hyperspace fighter Vic Viper. Vic's target is the enemy fortress Xerius with an X. The only way to put an end to the war is to plunge deep through the enemy forces and destroy its very core. And so the Vic Viper takes off far into the depths of space. I was like, awesome when I read that. Yep. That's cool.
Yep. It's very cool. Hey, Gradius is really cool.
Yes.
The music's cool. Like the enemies that you fight are cool. The upgrades you get are cool. Gradius is just a rad series. Gradius, this one, was supposed to be a sequel to a previous Konami game. What was it called? Scramble. Which is weird because like after making Gradius, they did not make a Gradius 2. They made Salamander, which is also supposed to be Gradius 2. They had a hard time actually committing to a name. But Gradius, like we mentioned, you are in the Vic Viper. You're shooting stuff. You're getting upgrades. Your upgrades in this game aren't like you would typically have for this type of game around that time. You have an upgrade path, I guess. There's a bar at the bottom of the screen that has different upgrades on it. Anytime you get in like a power sphere or like an upgrade token, one of those options will light up and it'll move down the line every time that you get one of those power up tokens. So you'll get them all the time to kind of like shuffle your way through this selection menu. When you get to the one that you want, you press like up on the D-pad and or select or whatever the button is, and you will gain that upgrade, whether it's uh changing your shots to like a double shot, to a laser, uh to increase the speed of the Vic Viper, to add options, which are little uh satellite ships that will also shoot your enemies with you. um it's a neat way to customize uh how your run is going to go, without having the typical like, oh, I have to burst fire now, but now I have to give it up for like the flamethrower or whatever that the upgrades would be for other games. All these things kind of stack and add on to each other as you go. um it's very inventive and very dynamic for that time.
Yeah. And even, I mean, it is a game that has kind of stood the test of time.
Yes.
Um, John, if I were to ask you,
Hmm.
what, let's see, if I compare, okay, I want you to find the commonality here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw out Gradius,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna throw out Tomb Raider Underworld. Do you can you think of anything that might bring those two together?
uh no.
No,
No,
not okay.
I can't think of anything
Well,
off the top of my head. They
here's
both
what it
released
is.
on PlayStation.
Both those games appear in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our second
I feel
time we've drawn a game that's been in that book.
I feel like Gradius fits that book better than
You're
Tomb
right.
Raider Underworld.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
when was that book published?
It was published in 2010, I think. So I think that
Okay.
if there's a 2020 version of it, that you don't find Tomb Raider Underworld in there anymore.
No, you'd find the newer Tomb Raiders
Yeah,
on
I
there.
think Gradius
Uh,
would still be in there, but
would R-Type be on there?
I don't
That'll
know.
be another show. R-Type, another cool shmup. Um, yeah. Anyways, great Gradius. What you got about this game?
So I got a couple cool nuggets. As we mentioned, this game came out on several different platforms.
Yeah.
There's a rumor, again, take this for what you want, but there's a rumor that the arcade version of this game actually caused a coin shortage in Japan
Ah,
because it was so wildly popular. So that's a tough thing to prove, but I like it, so we're gonna share it.
that's very good.
This I thought this was kind of a surprise, and maybe it's common knowledge, but you always hear of Contra in relation to
Yeah.
the Konami code.
Yes.
Yes,
This is also something that I
but
found
that's
too.
not where the code was first used.
Oh,
It was first used with Gradius. This was
it
the
was.
the first code that, or the first game that utilized the infamous, famous, not infamous. It's amazing. The Konami
Yeah.
code. Um,
Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start.
there it is.
That's it. It's the one.
That's the
It's
one.
still used in games today. I'm sure someone named their child that. Either they named their child the Konami code, or they named it left, right,
Right. That, yes,
up,
that
down,
kid
down,
now
left, right.
hates their parents.
Yeah. Or they had like what, like 7 kids.
Oh, but two
Oh
of
wait,
them would
no,
be
no,
named the
sorry,
same.
11 kids. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's really dumb.
Hmm.
Uh, this game was outside of Japanese territories in the arcade and on MSX. It's not known as Gradius. It's known as Nemesis,
Yes.
which is weird. Also, its sequel, Salamander, was known as Life Force.
I actually
Uh,
did not know that. I've played Life Force, but I've never
yeah,
played Salamander.
there's so many like different names for this series. Like technically, if without like beating around the bush too much, like Scramble, Gradius, Salamander. Nemesis. It's all the same series. Like they all take there is a line you could draw between all of these. They just kind of changed the name. Like Salamander's very similar to Gradius.
Yeah, and
Um,
I didn't realize that Scramble was the spiritual successor to Gradius. I didn't
yeah,
know Gradius had a first. I thought that was like kind of the original. So that was another cool nugget to learn about a game that's been out for 30 some years.
right. There's something else I found from the development. I need to find this again.
Well, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
so this game was awarded by Power Play as the third best Commodore 64 game of 1987. I couldn't find the first two, but I'm very curious as to what they are. And it was rated that it was received the award for the best Nintendo game when it was released in 1989. And then I also,
Makes sense to me.
sorry, go ahead.
Said makes sense to me.
Yeah. Um, and then I also found an article which I'm going to throw in the Discord, which I thought was a really good read. I didn't really get anything new from it, but I think it's just a good read. It was about the 30th anniversary of of Gradius on Gamasutra. It
Mhm.
covers this game, but then it covers everything that kind of happened afterwards. Because there's 5 of these games now, and then some spin-offs, and then some games that have come out and been wildly popular based on Gradius as after they kind of lost the formula a little bit. So good article. I will have that in the Discord, and it'll also be in the show notes.
Yeah, I
So
think that's where I was trying to find my my little anecdote here. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Uh, I thought it was something about like Konami wanted to like move more into game, or sorry, yeah, Konami wanted to move more into games at the time, so they had a team start to build a shooter because it was popular in Japan. I don't know if that was Scramble or if that was Gradius itself, though.
okay.
Uh, yeah, I don't think I really have much else besides I fell in love with Gradius or Salamander music with Dance Dance Revolution and realized oh this music's great. And one of my favorite songs, I think it's called Burning Heat.
Interesting.
Listen to it real quick. Um, it is from it's from Gradius, I believe. Yeah. Oh, this song's great. Oh, I shouldn't be listening to this right now.
No, circle back after.
Oh,
Um,
it's so good. I'm posting this in the Discord right now.
so the ways that you can play the game nowadays. Now, if you can get your hands on an NES Classic, it's included in there. Gradius is one of the games that were included in the little mini NES. So if you've already
It
got
is
one sitting on the shelf, go find it. If you don't have one, I think are they still around?
it is $5 on the 3DS.
And it's $5 on the 3DS.
It's also on the Wii U. So
Oh, okay. There you go.
yeah, if you want to dust off
What's on the
that
Switch too,
giant
right?
controller, I don't know if it's on Switch.
I think there's an
Is it on
arcade
Arcade
arcade archive of it. Yep.
Ooh.
So there's an even easier way to play it. Handheld.
And I'm sure there's like a Konami collection of some sort.
There are actually 2 collections that it's a part of. It is a part of the Gradius collection that appeared on PlayStation Portable, and I think it's also on PlayStation Network. And then the Arcade Classics Anniversary Collection on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, and Nintendo Switch. So yes,
Very cool.
there it is. So if you have not had a chance to play Gradius and you want to get a taste of gaming history, one of the most popular games ever made,
Hmm.
there's an easy way to do it. That's all I've got
Like,
for Gradius.
yeah, play Gradius. It's a sweet game. It's a good series. That's all I have as well.
All right.
Hey,
Let's rank
let's
them.
rank it. I believe you did you go first? You went first last time.
I think you're right.
I think that's right as
All right.
well.
You wanna lead us out?
Yeah, number 5. Number 5. Let me ponder on this for a second. Oh boy. Number 5 I think would have to go to, if you're hearing about how bad the controls are. Man, actually, you know what? Go with Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy Veediots for the
Is
Game
your
Boy
5?
specifically. For the Game Boy, it is my 5.
Unbelievable. You
It
think
is
you know
my
somebody.
5. I think I saw all I need to with the Game Boy version. Does not look fun to play. It looks nice. Does not look fun to play. I probably would not play Veediots. I'd probably play. If specifically the Super Nintendo version were higher, or where was the one that we got, I would probably put that a little bit higher.
So you're telling me that you would rather play the Ren and Stimpy show. No, I'm sorry. That you would rather play Tetris before the Ren and Stimpy show Veediots.
Yeah, Tetris is Tetris, and Tetris is one of the best video games ever made.
Tetris is my number 5 hard.
Okay.
um in fact, we've covered 30 games. That game might be my 30.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
No, it's from what I saw, it
Throw on a podcast and play some Tetris.
no. 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 I'll have to unsubscribe from that podcast. It'll ruin the entire experience. No, I was watching some gameplay of it, and when I say it's a Tetris clone, but it is the most stripped down, bare bones. There's one sound in the entire game,
Yeah,
and it repeats, and there's
it's a
no
homebrew.
what's that?
Said it's a homebrew.
I know. Well, that's just it. I mean, but it's a Lynx
Oh,
game.
that's true.
It is a
That's
game
true.
that released, and it's yeah. No, Tetris is my hard number 5.
All right. My hard number 4 is probably Tetris. Um, it's all right. Yeah. All right. You convinced me. Tetris is my number 4. There are probably better Tetris games I could play.
There are most
Tetris
assuredly better Tetrises you can play.
Tetris Effect Connect or Connected. That's on Game Pass right now. I could probably play that.
There you go.
Tetris 99. Probably play that. Tetris does have a smaller play field. And it does only have one sound effect. There is no music, no rip off.
And there's no like when you want to bring your piece down right away, you can't like on the Nintendo you hold it down and you watch it like go faster. This just
Yeah,
instantly like snaps it into place. I can't stand that.
that's how you play Tetris.
No.
Number 4,
Number
sir.
4 for me is number 4 for me is UFC Undisputed 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just not a fan of UFC games. I have tried a couple,
Yeah,
and the controls have never made any sense to me.
they're very
I also
complicated. That's something I didn't bring up before, but like they are very complicated.
yeah, and I don't want to put the effort into learning how to grapple when he has my back or anything like that.
Right.
I would have no fun jumping into that. So that is my number 4. What's your number
Okay.
3?
My number 3 is Predator. It's Predator.
Okay.
Um, After hearing about how hard that game is and how the platforming is, um, I think licensed games on the NES are probably one of the better places for licensed games, to be honest, because it's like, oh, this is a platformer that we just kind of threw this movie property on. Um, but yeah, I don't think I would have very much fun with Predator these days. Um, it's interesting that it's there. Big mode is interesting to me, but yeah, Predators could be my number 3.
All right. And my number 3 will be Ren and Stimpy show Veediots. again, you did call it out correctly in saying that we are looking at the Game Boy version, and I'm always going
Yeah,
to have trouble playing Game Boy games these days. That being said, I think that the character, not models, but sprites. Are they sprites on Game Boy? They're not even
sprites. Yeah,
sprites, are they?
they're sprites.
Okay.
There's sprites.
I thought they looked really good. Um, the rest of the level and the general gameplay did not look super enticing or anything like that.
Yeah,
It probably didn't even look that good, but that's why it's number 3.
I feel like this week has the biggest difference between the top 2 games and, like, the bottom 3, because usually, like, 3 is like, "Yeah, I'd probably play that," but, like, 3 is like, "Nah,
Yeah,
I don't
this
really wanna touch
for
that."
me this week has like one real standout, and then
Totally. I think
yeah,
we're gonna meet up at the top
yep.
with UFC Undisputed 2010 is my number 2.
Okay.
I enjoy fighting games. I haven't played one of these, so I don't know exactly how complex it goes, but it looks like you're playing like a flowchart. You get someone in a grapple, and then you transition into something else. You transition into another thing. You counter something else. That seems fun, kind of. Um, but also like watching UFC. I wish there was more striking. Um, because I like fighting games and I like pro wrestling, and there, there's more spectacle to just a punch being thrown than like ground and pound stuff.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
At least for me.
No, that definitely
But
makes
I'd be
sense to me
interested
too.
to see how this plays and how an early iteration of a UFC game is that isn't Mondu's Fight Palace.
um,
Do you think Dana White would have cut the contract for people if they showed up in Mondu's Fight Palace?
oh, that's an interesting question. I want to see the artist rendition of the UFC fighters in Tongue of the Fat Man, by the way.
Yeah, same game, same game.
But how would you turn down the opportunity to say "Tongue of the Fat Man" over and over again?
Right. I believe I've said it like 18 times in the last 2 episodes that we haven't
Yeah.
had that game. So,
Yep.
um, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is gonna be Predator. Um,
Okay. Explain yourself,
so
sir.
I had trouble with it, but once I got the jumping mechanic down, not the mechanic, but just like the floatiness of it, got it like kind of dialed in. It was
Right.
okay. The game is still hard as all get out.
I think that's just a barrier for most NES games.
But that's just it. Yeah, I can't tell if it's because the game's hard or it's because
Yeah,
it's been so long since I've been good at an NES game that
yeah,
that skill set has now left me forever.
right.
Um, but yeah, no, Predator is my number 2, and your number your
My number
yeah,
1 is absolutely Gradius.
yep.
Um, it's a classic. It is, uh, probably still holds up today. I haven't played it in a while, but, like, that is an arcade game through and through. Like, you wanna throw quarters at that to finish it. I'm probably gonna pay the money now to download that and play it on my Switch. I'm actually interested to see what the Arcade Archives version is like, um, because I think I would want that over the NES version. Thinking a little bit better visuals on that one, but
Yeah, I mean, playing on
uh,
the Switch screen and
better
all that
sound,
stuff, I think it would,
better colors,
yeah.
all of that. So Gradius number 1. Love the music, love the gameplay, and I think by process of elimination, your number 1 might be the same.
It sure is. Yeah. No, that's that game is a classic. I don't think that much more can be said that hasn't already been said.
Mhm.
Um, just, kind of the grandfather of shmups as we know them. So
Yeah,
that's yeah. I mean, I could go. I don't have much else to say about it. Gradius is my number 1 for the week.
great,
So
Gratius.
Gratius indeed. All right, guys. If you would like to participate. If you guys would like to offer up your thoughts on what we got wrong, things we might have missed, things you wished you knew more about, go ahead, reach out to us, pgshowinbox@gmail.com, or reach out to us on Twitter at pg_show. We are interested in your feedback. Join the Discord. We're looking to keep rolling with that. Like I said, there will be some bonus content in the Discord this week for some of the DLCs that we drew. Plus the content just specific to the games that we did talk about. So get yourself a more complete podcasting experience by getting into the Discord. And then obviously, if you have some time, jump into the Patreon, patreon.com/procedurally generated. Consider becoming a patron of ours. The lowest tier is $3. Like John said earlier, we are $10 away. We'll give thanks to those patrons here in just a second, especially the 2 new ones that just joined. But $3 a month gets you access to the show early. It gets you ad free, and assuming I don't forget, you get to vote for the community game every week. It's quite the incentive to be a part of that. We're going to keep adding new things, and not only goals for us, but perks for you. And we're always looking for feedback when it comes to that kind of stuff too. So if there's things that you wish was a part of your membership, if there's things, membership is not the right word, your patronage, or if there's things that, you think we should strive to do as a goal, then we're all ears. We're very, very, very open to that kind of feedback. Now to the patrons. We have people to thank.
Please thank them.
I had the page up and then I closed the page. So let me open the page. We got it. It's literally.
Why are you disrespecting our patrons like that?
I know. I'm sorry.
Damn.
All right. We have Jody and Mecca, our $25 platinum supporters. Thank you so much. We have Action at the $15 gold tier. Thank you so much. Thanks. We have the Lone Wolf and Tori Glumac at our silver tier. And to that tier, we're also introducing Tim G and Katie, my wife. both became patrons at the silver tier. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
But Katie, I'm glad you finally came around on Chris.
That's true. It took me, this is the 6th. It took me 5 weeks of having her listen to the show and me just like over her shoulder be like, listen to how good this is. She's like, I don't know. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. You could do better.
On the other hand, I've given my wife a terrible headache tonight, so I have some work to do.
so she, okay, yes, all right. Took me 5. Let's see how long it takes you.
Rub it in, Chris.
And then our bronze patrons, Aussie Gamer, John Carson, and Jason Daphnis. Thank you guys. Thank every one of you guys so much for the support.
We are excited to do more.
Yes,
do even more. Bust out of our shells, create a YouTube channel for this, add more content to that, and then also just like eventually just get more equipment, better equipment, promote this thing more, which I think that's where our money is going currently, is to promotion.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the payout has gone through. It just hasn't shown up in the account yet. And once it does, full disclosure, we are going to be running a Twitter ad for the show, getting it out there in that way. And then we're also going to be buying some tokens for a website called Games Press, which gets us access to different just different press packages for games that have released in the past.
Yep.
So we're pretty excited about that. There was something else that we were looking at too. Get the membership for Pod Charts as well.
Oh, sure.
Because that's expired. Now I have no idea where we are. So
yes,
once that comes through, that's the plan for this month's funds.
Great.
So
sounds good.
But thank you guys so much. Again, if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed your time here, please, please, please leave a 5-star review. It would mean the world to us. Again, the more 5-star reviews we have, the more this podcast ticks up people's recommended list, and the better chance we have at getting into some new ears. So reaching more people, having a larger audience, which is ultimately the goal. We want to grow this thing. We want to make this thing something special. We are definitely on the right track. We're up to 225 listens, I think, something like that. So
somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's been fun. It will continue to be fun. We expect you guys to be a part of it, and we are grateful for each and every one of you. So without further ado, have yourself a fantastic week, and we will talk to you next time.
Later. See you next week.